customer service rep, Christine Hurst, is suing her ex-boyfriend, security guard Clinton Burton Jr., for assaulting her and destroying her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Order. Yeah, this is case number 319 on the calendar, the matter of Hurst versus Burton.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Hurst, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant met a little over a year ago through a dating service.
Yes.
And you started to date, and then the relationship cooled off a bit. Recently, during this past summer, you decided to rejuvenate the relationship, and you contacted the defendant and began a series of telephone communications that ultimately led to some casual dating.
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then there was an evening in July, September? When was it?
September 13th.
That something happened that you're going to tell me about, because it is your claim that he assaulted you and broke a piece of your property at an evening that was supposed to be a pleasant evening at his home. Mr. Burton said he did no such thing. So why don't you tell me how the evening started?
September 13th, he was calling me. He was telling me he called out throughout the day, saying, "Why don't you come on over, come on over?" And I was hesitant. I said, okay. I waited later in the day, and then I told him, I said, you know what, okay, I'll come.
How many times had you called her that day, sir?
Your Honor, I only called her like one time, and she called me. I didn't call her.
Okay, so you called him back and said what?
About the fourth or fifth time he called, I finally said, okay, I'm going to go get some movies. I'm going to go get some, house wine. And then we had a nice dinner that day.
What time did you get there?
I would say about 5:30.
And you drank wine?
We both drank some wine, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then just out of nowhere, at the end of the dinner, he came out with some kind of game playing, saying, well, I did this and I did this through the relationship.
I did this. What did he say?
He put up all the financial, as far as dating, when a man is going to go ahead and take you out to eat and stuff, they go ahead and, they pay for the eating and all. So he was bringing all that up. And then when I started getting ready to say, well, I did this and I did that, he started covering my mouth, but in a joking manner, playing manner. And then it turned out to where he wanted to get some wine. Well, he didn't have any money, so he was gathering some receipts and the purchase that he had purchased a while back, whatever it was. And then he was asking for my bus pass. So then at that time, I told him no. I said, I don't want to, I'm not, you don't trust me. You don't trust me. That's what he's coming out saying. And I'm like, okay. I'm hoping that the conversation will end. Just out of nowhere, he comes out and he says, you got to go.
Okay, so what happened?
I left. I tried to pack up everything. He got mad when I was trying to get everything gathered up. I wasn't saying anything to him. I did say, do you have the rest of the money that you owe me so I could take the cab home? And then sure enough, he got madder and started pushing me, shoving me with his chest at me. And then as I was gathering everything, that's when he pushed me against the wall, and the wall cracked behind me in the dining room, yes. And then I stepped back after I got pushed, and I waited for him. He just kept calling B word to me with a disgusting look, scary look, I might add, and just kept saying it. Yes, I was really frightened, and I just stepped out, and I'm against the wall, and that's when he pushed me again, trying to take my cell phone. The second time, he got it, and then he threw it as I was trying to call the police.
What'd you call the police for?
Because of the abuse that he was doing. He was pushing me and hurting me. He didn't have no right to put his hands on me at all.
Okay, and I'm waiting for you. Let's hear.
First of all, Your Honor, everything she just said, she's lying.
Shh. Just tell me your version of the events, Mr. Burton.
Your Honor, she called me on a Saturday. She said she was preparing a roast and a dinner. And I said, won't you bring everything over to my house, and then I'll finish preparing it, and then, we can have dinner over my house. So she came over my house, and I finished preparing the meal, and then she asked me to pour her a glass of wine. I poured her a glass of wine. Then all of a sudden, she started acting funny because I think she takes sight meds or something, because you can't drink on sight meds. But anyway, Your Honor, she just started talking, ramming on the top of her head. Just started acting crazy.
Like what?
I mean, started talking. She didn't make no sense whatsoever. Like, you a punk, you this, you ain't a man, you this and you that. And she kept talking loud. It was 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I told her, stop talking loud in my house because you disturbing my neighbors. And she kept talking loud. And then I walked over to her and put my hand over her mouth. This is the physical abuse she was saying. So I said, maybe if I just walk away from her, maybe she'll stop. And so I went into the restroom, Your Honor, you know, and I went in the restroom and used the restroom and washed my hand. I heard a scream. And so I came back out, and Your Honor, she told me, I said, what are you screaming for? She told me she had saw a leprechaun run through the living room. I went over there, I said, you got to go. So she went over there and got her stuff, and she kept saying, hit me, hit me. She was doing that, hit me, hit me, hit me. You know, hit me, hit me, hit me. I didn't know what was going on, Your Honor. I thought she was finna turn into a chicken or something. Then she started yelling rape. And I ran to my bedroom and got my shoes. I said, you got to go. You got to get out of my house. And she started yelling rape outside, so I grabbed the cell phone and I threw it in the bushes. Because, you know, I'm not finna get set up for something I didn't do.
And you say in your answer, sir, that you called her on the cell phone the next day.
Okay. I had got her out of my house. She called me about 5 minutes later. From a payphone. She said, Clint, she said, I can't find my cell phone. I need a way home. Could you please help me get a way home and help me find my cell phone? Your Honor, I watch cops. You know, I know there's no way that she was going to get me outside. I know the cops was already outside. So what I did, I cut off all my lights and everything and went to bed. When I went to bed, next thing you know, the cops was outside my window, bright light, banging on the door. The next day,
So you didn't answer the door?
Huh? No, I never answered the door because she wasn't finished set me up for something I didn't do. So, Your Honor, the next day I put star 67. That's blocking the number out, and called her cell phone, and she answered the cell phone. So that let me know that she found the cell phone. Not only this, Your Honor, this young lady is on at least three or four chat lines and the internet. This lady is looking for victims on the chat lines and the internet to sue. Gosh. She done told me about at least 3 lawsuits she done had.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hurst, you called the police?
I did call the police after
Did you
trying.
file a report?
Yes, I did.
Can I see a copy of the report?
It's all the lies she done told.
Did I let you speak? Was I polite to you?
Yes, you were.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that?
Do I look like a telephone technician to you?
And later today,
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's gonna make a fool out of you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christine Hurst says ex-boyfriend Clinton Burton Jr. assaulted her and destroyed her cell phone. Clinton says Christine is a con artist.
Miss Hurst, police note the presence of alcohol when they saw you.
I let them know that we were drinking 2 to 3 glasses of house wine that I had brought over to his house.
It was about 10 glasses.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. How many bottles of wine did she bring over?
She brought she bought a big jug of St. Carlos wine, and the whole jug was finished.
Okay. You drank a lot that evening.
No, we didn't. We drank 2 or 3, and as the police report says, I was very calm.
You got to be calm and lie.
No, you're doing a lot of lying.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Hurst?
I don't. Customer service, cashiering.
She worked for the devil.
Mr. Burton, you don't want to lose this case. So far, you're not losing. You want to lose?
No, ma'am.
Then you have to not speak to her again. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you get any sort of Social Security?
I don't get any of that, no.
Are you currently under the care of a psychiatrist?
No.
Do you currently take any medication?
No.
Okay. Mr. Burton, the police indicated that they found the cell phone that you had thrown out of your house.
Yes.
And they found it, and it was, in fact, broken. Is that the cell phone?
Yes, it is.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. And here's the receipt that I just purchased with it, too.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. if that cell phone in pieces like that, how did I star 67 her number and made a phone call and she picked it up?
Mr. Burton,
Is that broken?
Mr. Burton, listen to me, sir. Clearly, I mean, if I were to recap this evening, you both were probably feeling pretty fine because you'd both had a little bit to drink. She may have had a worse reaction to the alcohol than you. I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't think that you injured her because she refused any medical treatment, and the police really don't indicate that there were any injuries other than a little scratch under her nose that I don't know how she got, because according to her, you just pushed her. But you do acknowledge, Mr. Burton, that you took her cell phone
And threw it.
and threw it. And the police, in their report, indicate that they found the cell phone in pieces. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so you have to pay for the cell phone. The cell phone was $180.
But what I'm saying, I don't understand. How can I make a call her on that cell phone if it's in pieces like that? She done broke it the rest of the way.
Can I ask you a question, Mr.
Yes,
Burton?
ask me a question.
Do I look like a telephone technician to you? How do I...
I don't know.
How the heck do I know how you made a phone call to her? The police said the cell phone was broken. You have to pay for the new cell phone. You don't have to pay $5,000, which is what she's looking for.
Okay.
But $180 is what she paid for the phone. $180 is what you're going to pay her. Judgment for the plaintiff, $180. Don't drink if you can't hold your liquor, Miss Hurst.
No,
That's all.
I wasn't
That's
drunk.
it.
Why is that
Goodbye.
excused? You may step out.
Ever drink. Crazy lady.
He's the one on Prozac. He's the one he's on the one who has disability. I don't.
She's a total liar. She's on psych meds, and she knows she is. She get SSI, and she's crazy.
Maybe the Prozac turned him that way. I don't know.
Every time she drinks, she have obnoxious lies and steals out of my house.
All he did in the long run is just take advantage and made a spectacle out of himself, really, not for me.
If any mental hospital know this young lady, please come and get her, because she's on the loose.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Eberhardt. Step forward, please.
23-year-old factory worker Antoinette Jones is suing her ex-boyfriend's current girlfriend, homemaker LaTwana Eberhardt, for torching her car. LaTwana says it wasn't her.
This is the boyfriend.
Yeah,
Your current boyfriend. How many children do you have with him?
2,
How old are they?
5 and 1.
And how many years were you together?
Since I was in the 11th grade, I was 97.
And you had one child with him?
Yes.
And then he was such a good father, you went and had another one with him.
I guess so, yes.
Do you? Nah. Even you had a laugh when I said that, right?
Yes.
Does he have a job?
Not at this, well, at this moment, yes, he should have one.
What is his regular occupation?
Construction.
So he works on and off.
Yes.
And how much does he give you every week for the support of your 2 children?
Nothing.
A big, fat...
0.
Miss Eberhardt.
Yes.
How long has Sir Lancelot been your boyfriend?
Well, it's be 2 years. We've been off and on since '96.
Off and on, so that you were off and on together. But didn't know about it, I assume.
That's correct.
Did you know he had 2 children when you were on and off with him?
I knew about 1.
I just wanted to get a little background because I read your case, and your case says that the defendant torched your car and destroyed it. She says she didn't do it. When was your car torched?
On May 18th,
And what makes you think that the defendant did it?
because we had confrontation between each other the same night.
What kind of confrontation?
We went to a formal friend party. I don't understand why he invited both of us.
Why, this other friend invited both of you?
Yeah.
But because he's stupid.
So I didn't know she was coming. I guess she didn't know I was coming. Till it goes into the bathroom. She decides she gonna come too into the bathroom. So I told the friend, if she does come.
So you had a confrontation at this. So there's a little pushing and shoving, according to what I read.
No, we had no words. We just bumped shoulders.
Bump shoulder.
Right.
Fine. And that's what makes you think that she torched your car.
No, she had a little liquor, little friends, and a
Do you
little
have any,
courage.
let me put it to you this way, Miss Jones. Do you have any proof that she torched your car?
Only Jason's mother notarized statement. That's all I do have.
I don't read statements.
I know, but she had to stay home. It has details telling that Tawana smelled like gasoline.
Smelling from gasoline is some evidence, but even smelling from gasoline doesn't prove that you torched your car.
I mean, we had confrontation before then. We face to face, almost fist fighting. So she didn't like me from the get-go. So it was an easy alibi for her to
You don't
come.
want me to start on you, do you? You don't want me to start on you, do you? You know how he cheated on her and he's got 2 children with her?
Yeah.
Do you work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at dry cleaners.
You work 5 days a week?
Yes.
Why do you have to think about that? If I said to somebody, do you work 5 days a week, they wouldn't have to think about it. Do you work 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay. You work 9 to 5?
10 to 6.
And you live with Sir Lancelot,
Yes.
who is employed on and off in construction. Is that right?
Yes.
I guarantee you that when you're working from 10 to 6, he's fooling around. Guaranteed! And just like he made a fool out of her, he's going to make a fool out of you. And in a year or 2 or 3, you're going to be standing in a similar situation that she's standing in now. I don't know whether you torched her car or not. She doesn't have any proof that you torched her car. But I'm telling this to the 2 of you. The only thing that makes you look more foolish than devoting the best years of your life to a loser who doesn't pay child support, who cheats on you, who doesn't work regularly, is to be angry at each other. What are you angry at each other for? It's stupid. It's stupid. He's the bad guy. You're just, both of you are just dumb. Hang around him. Don't you understand that a man who fathers 2 children who he doesn't support is a loser?
But he does
Loser.
support his children.
Loser. Really? How
Tell
much
her
did
when
he
the
send?
last time he seen his kids.
I don't care when he saw them.
Last time he took care of them.
When was the last time he sent them money?
He doesn't send them money, but he buys them things. He doesn't send money to her.
Let me,
No.
just a second. Just a second. That's what he's supposed to do. Send money to the custodian of his children so that she can pay rent, food, insurance, medical care, shoes. Do you understand? That's what he's supposed to do. He's not supposed to buy Pampers and soy milk and say, I support my children. That's bull. Do you understand? Listen, Miss Jones, you don't have the case because you don't have any proof that you torched your car. So I have to dismiss your case. But forget about being mad at each other. That's the one.
I'm not mad at her.
Good, perfect.
Mad at
Happy
him.
to hear.
Not mad at
Happy to
her.
hear that you're all happy with each other.
Yeah, this is case number 300 on the calendar in the matter of Kamerman versus Beck. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, folks. Have seats.
Mr. Kammerman, it is your claim that the defendants, both father and son, had you falsely arrested. You want to be reimbursed for that false arrest, bail money, attorney's fees, pain and suffering, aggravation, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Beck and Master Beck say that they absolutely were within their rights to have you arrested because you did, in fact, put your hands on one of them and threaten the other. So that's what this case is about. How do you know each other?
I didn't know them prior to this. The way that we came in contact with each other is I was driving my car and going to my house to pick up some tools to do some work on some of my rental properties. And Master Beck was parked blocking the right-of-way.
How was he blocking the right?
He was parked in an alleyway. We live in Newport Beach, which is a very small beach community that has an alleyway to get to the homes.
Okay, so you have to drive through a common alleyway in order to get to all of the homes.
That's true.
Okay. What were you doing there, Stephen?
I was loading my surfboards on top. My car was still on, so I wasn't fully parked. But
Well, the car was stopped, wasn't it?
yeah, I was out standing on my tire. Oh,
When I want a whole story, I'll ask you.
okay.
Other than that, if you can answer me just the questions, 1 or 2 words will be enough. So the car was, in fact, stopped because you were loading something onto the car.
Yes.
So what happened?
First of all, I didn't observe any surfboards. I had motioned to him to move.
Me move and pull out of the driveway.
Yeah, just to get out of the way so I could get to where I
Well,
was
in order
going.
to pull out of the way, he had to go through the alleyway someplace else.
Yes, just pull in front of actually the home that he was in front of at the alleyway. He could have pulled into the street, and there was an area to park that he could have been fine there, or pull back where he wanted to. This is common.
Just a second.
Okay, oh, sorry.
So you could have loaded your surfboards by pulling into where your house was.
Yes.
Okay. So he didn't move.
That's correct.
And what did you do?
I motioned to him to move. He acknowledged I was there and then walked around like, tough luck, I'm going to do as I please. So I thought, okay, I'll get out of the car and approach him. Maybe he'll realize that he needs to move.
I'm bigger than he is.
Yeah, a little bit. So I went up to him. I thought that would do it. That didn't do it. And so I said things like, do you need help to put the key in the ignition so you can turn the car on and move the car? And then his girlfriend started screaming at me.
The other girlfriend? What was she saying?
She was just screaming, leave him alone. You can't do, just unintelligible things.
Well, what were you doing to him, Mr. Cameraman?
I was actually doing nothing except saying, do you need somebody to show you how to... I was being facetious.
When I ask you to tell me what happened, it's not going to be one of, and then I said, and then he said, and then I said, and then he said, because I don't believe that. Do you understand?
I can understand that, yes, Your Honor.
So, let's backtrack a little bit. You got out of the car after Stephen over here was dissing you.
Yes.
Showing off for his girlfriend.
Exactly.
Because he's a kid.
Yes.
Certainly not doing the right thing, Stephen. When someone pulled up behind you in the car, the right thing to do was to have gotten in the car with your girlfriend and move the car out of the way so that that person could drive through the driveway. Do you understand?
Yeah, I say one thing?
Yeah.
I motioned him just 1 minute, just like you did, 1 minute, so I could buckle it, so I can move it. It takes 30 seconds, and it's no big deal.
Stephen, this whole thing didn't start because of 30 seconds, Stephen. If you live until you're 100, you're not going to be as smart as I am. It's just the way that God crafted you. There's a certain common sense to life. I understand it. I can't do certain things, but there's a certain common sense that I have. I'm not saying that he did the right thing, Mr. Cummins, because he's still going to give me, and then I said, and then he said. Right? But I'm telling you that you did the wrong thing. Now, Mr. Cameraman, let's get back to and then I said. Go ahead.
I was yelling at him and trying to get him to move the car, and I was actually shocked to even know that anybody else was in the car, and then I heard her screaming, leave him alone, and then I realized since she was escalating everything, I decided I'm going to leave this alone and go back to my car. I went back to my car, turned the engine off, locked it, and proceeded to my house. As I got halfway across the street, Mr. Stephen Beck then decided to get into his vehicle and then move his vehicle to the spot that I said that he could move to that would work. So I realized he had done that. Then I went immediately back to my car and moved my car and put it in a legal parking spot near my house. At that point, I figured everything was over. I was loading things into my car. I made comments, they made comments about things. I yelled and said... You mean
that you were yelling at each other?
We were yelling at each other. Across the street, the girlfriend started saying, come on, hit us. We can have you thrown in jail. Come on, hit us. My mom's a lawyer. I can have you thrown in jail. And I said, well, yeah, I know that. I'm not going to touch anybody.
No, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that was a lie as well. I went back into my house, came back out, and they had called the police. And Stephen had made up a wild story that I had choked him and smashed him against the car.
Okay. So, and that's why you were arrested. You have a copy of the complaint?
Yes.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
Oh, bird, there. You know that pesky fly that comes out here every once in a while? It's back. You sit down, Tony, for a second. Come up here. What's your name?
My name? Michelle Sabaris.
Michelle. Okay, Michelle. What did you see?
I saw this gentleman, or Stephen, was putting his surfboards on top. He was standing on his tire, buckling his boards. Brett came around through the alley, drove in, parked right behind, and honked his horn. And Stephen gestured him 1 second, and then right away, I see him because I'm looking back out of the back. I'm in the passenger seat. He starts getting furious in his car. What I saw a gesture of the finger. Then he gets out of the car immediately, comes right up to Stephen, and their size is different, and I see he comes up to him viciously and goes like this.
Doesn't hit him.
Doesn't hit him, not right then. Next thing I know, I see Stephen against the side of the door, the back door, and Brett had his hands on his neck. And then he opened the door, tried pushing him in the car, was trying to get him so he could move his car. And then from there on...
And you're sitting in the passenger seat all this time?
Yes, and I'm in the passenger seat, and when I see him put his hands on his neck, that's when I start yelling, yes. And I got scared, and he wasn't a minor, but what I yelled, because I thought he was going to beat him up, I yelled, "Get your hands off him, he's a minor."
You mean if he was older, it would have been okay?
Well, no, but their size is considerable, and
He's always going to be that size, right?
Right.
Probably.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't believe you, because that's my job, because I've been doing this job for a very long time, because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry, I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while, maybe you'll get it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Brett Kammerman says he was falsely arrested when Stephen Beck accused him of assault. Stephen says that during an argument, Brett choked him.
Anybody else witness this? Who are you?
I'm Patty Kammerman. I'm Brett's mother.
Where were you when this happened?
I was waiting across the street for Brett to come and pick up tools. And I never saw Brett touch him, push him, or
Well, what
do
did you
any of those
see?
things. I saw just what Brett had said, that he talked to him and he yelled at him, and everybody was very loud and yelling. And Brett went like this and got back in his car, turned the car off, came across the street.
And when you saw all of that, when you saw all of that yelling and all of that gesturing, did you stay in your house?
No, I wasn't in the house.
You just waited?
I was outside.
Did
waiting.
you come across the street to where they were?
No, I was.
Why not?
Because I didn't know what was going on. And I was just standing there.
Well, you're his mother. Maybe he was going to be in trouble. Maybe somebody's going to take a gun and hurt him.
No,
What?
I knew that there was no problem. This happens dozens of times during the summer, where somebody blocks the driveway, somebody else yells, everybody moves out of the way, and it's over with.
Have a seat, Ms. Cameron.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, she was inside the house at the time. She was not outside. I made sure of that because I looked for witnesses
There's nobody present.
to witness it. I wanted witnesses.
Okay, your mother saw nothing. I don't believe her. I don't believe her. Okay, so then the police came and you were arrested. Even she knows she's not telling me the truth. Then the police came and you were arrested?
Yes.
Now, what happened with Tony Beck? Stand up, Mr. Beck. Go ahead. By the way, if there are no other witnesses, what are all you people doing here?
They're my character witnesses.
I don't need a character witnesses. I've determined you're a character. Go ahead.
After I was bailed out of jail, I went to Becky and Donnie's house.
Who's Becky and Donnie?
Becky and Donnie are neighbors of mine.
Raise Becky and Donnie. And Becky and Donnie here?
My grandchildren.
Your grandchildren?
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law.
Okay.
And I talked with them, and they have bad blood on this side of the family. And they said, if you would, please leave us out of it. We don't want to have to come to court. We already don't get along with them. And the dad, it's a situation where they didn't want to be involved, and so I didn't involve them.
You went down to talk to them. After you talked to them, what happened with Tony?
While I was talking to Becky, some man came running through the house and confronted me and said, "Keep your hands off my son." And I said, you really should get your facts straight. Your son's lying to people about this. I didn't do anything, and I don't even know why I was taken to jail.
Okay. So nothing, according to you, nothing happened with Tony?
Exactly.
Okay.
But then Tony filed a temporary restraining order against me,
Well, that
lying to the authorities, saying that I had threatened him.
Not lying.
Now, why don't you tell me your version,
Thank you,
Mr. Beck, of the events?
I came through the house and I was off because the confrontation he had with my son. And the words I used when I came up to him is I said, "Why are you manhandling my son?" And he asked, who are you? And Becky says, "He's the father of Stephen." He said, "Get out of here. I don't like you. Get out of here." So and Becky asked me to leave. I left. As I was leaving, as far as his taunting, when I was leaving, just his character, he says, "What's your name?" I says, "Don knows my name." And he says, "Oh, don't even know your own name?" And this is the same type of antics that he used with the other kids in the neighborhood as far as taunting them.
Mr. Beck.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you file an application for a restraining order against
the
him?
restraining order was
what I'm
filed.
asking you, sir.
The restraining order was filed due to a phone call that he made to my father-in-law. He said he had the intentions
Just a second. Did you make a phone call to his father-in-law?
His father-in-law and I were very good friends. We both are real estate investors. We'd been friends for a long time. I wanted to call him and let him know that whatever stories are going around weren't...
Just a second. Do you have an affidavit from your relative?
Yes, ma'am. This is the report that my relative went down to the police
I'd like to see what the affidavit says from your relative, because that formed the basis of your application for a protective order. Well, I'd like to see it. This is the statement that is attributed to you, that the victim, whoever your relative is, came to the police front desk to report an annoying phone call he had received. The victim states that on this 20th of July, 2002, his grandson was battered by the suspect cameraman. The victim states that on the same day at approximately 16:30 hours, he received a call from Mr. Cameraman who said, "This is Brett. I know you know I am a martial arts expert. And just to let you know, I intend to sue the Beck family for false arrest. I want to assure you that to your grandchildren, I represent no harm or threat." That is the conversation that is attributed to you.
It's partially true.
Just a minute, what do you want?
I wanted to tell you that I was listening to the phone call.
I don't believe a word you say.
Why not?
Because I don't believe a word you say. I don't believe that you either went out and saw what was happening from outside your house, madam, or that you heard this conversation. I don't believe you. Because that's my job. Because I've been doing this job for a very long time. Because you're his mother, and I don't believe you. I don't believe that he is telling me exactly what happened with this young man. I believe that this gentleman so far had no cause to file for a restraining order against him. No cause. He had no cause. That's clear. But I don't believe your version of the events with Stephen. And therefore, I don't believe you saw what you say you saw. Do you understand?
No.
Well, I'm sorry. I explained it as best as I can. Mull it over for a while. Maybe you'll get it. My question to you, Mr. Cameraman, is what happened during this case when it was in court?
The situation that occurred is I was starting a new corporation.
Don't give me your whole story, Mr. Cameraman. I don't want to hear a whole story about you didn't want this whole thing to drag on.
That's the story. That's what I was going to tell you. If that's not something...
Listen, how come I read your mind?
Well, it was a donation that I made to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I've been here a long time, sir. I've been doing this job for a long time. What happened with the case, Mr. Cameraman?
I was told it takes a while for this to go, that there are going to be 4 or 5 pretrial hearings.
And?
And I told my attorney that I was tired of this, that it didn't happen, that they are lying, and it's not fair that I have to deal with this for so long. Can you get it taken care of more quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And so they
your
said...
attorney said to you, I can take care of it more quickly. This is what you're going to have to do.
If you make a donation to the Emergency Victims Fund, then they will let it go, because we have to give something to the DA so he feels like he won. And so at that time, I listened to the attorney and made the donation.
That was a mistake,
It
sir.
was a mistake.
Because
and at the time, I asked
a $1,000 donation, whatever it is, whether it's in the form of restitution, whether it's in the form of, listen, I'm not going to be able to successfully meet these charges and I just want the whole thing over, whether it's in the form of, I'm too busy to continue with this. Someone who feels as if they have been wrongly arrested, forced to post bail, handcuffed, et cetera, does not make a donation of $1,000 to make the charges go away, which is what you did. So you have no case.
Well, I agree with you on that. That's
you have
why
no case. It was a mistake. It was a mistake. So what do you want me to do? You made a mistake.
Okay, well, at the time, I had never been in a criminal situation. I listened to the criminal attorney. I will call him.
What do you want me to do, Mr. Cameraman?
I'm telling you what the situation is, and what I'm asking you to do is that
you're an intelligent man, Mr. Cameraman.
Thank you.
You are an intelligent man. An intelligent man knows that when you pay money into the criminal justice system, it is almost a signal, at least it is some indication, that you feel as if you are in some way wrong. That's the way it's interpreted, Mr.
I can understand your interpretation.
That's the way it's interpreted,
However,
sir.
that's not the case. And that's why I brought character witnesses.
I'm not interested in your character witnesses, sir. And I don't believe your mother. I believe that you overreacted to this young man, and I do believe that you put your hands on him. I don't believe that you hit him.
You believe that I put my hands on him?
Yes. I don't believe that you hit him. I don't believe that you hurt him. I believe that you lost your temper when he didn't move that car fast enough. And I think he was showing off for his girlfriend.
He was.
And I think that what he was doing was rude and inconsiderate, and he's 19 years old, and you're a lot older, and you should have cooled it, let it pass.
That's what I did.
And you didn't.
I did
and you didn't. He, of course, had no right to bring you to court for the restraining order because you had no grounds for a restraining order, Tony Beck. You behaved badly, sir. You can't act like a brat. When you act like a brat, things happen. Sometimes you're going to meet up with people who are bigger and stronger, and you can't anticipate what their mental state is going to be, so you have to be respectful of other people's time. You have to be respectful of other people's property. You want to load your car, you don't pull your car unless you absolutely have to in a place that inhibits somebody else from getting by. That's just being respectful. That doesn't give him license to overreact to you, because he could have done exactly what he did 5 minutes later, which is to pull his car into another spot, leave it, and go across the street to get his tools, or at least that's what he was trying to do, to go across the street to get his other tools. Anyway, you have no case, Mr. Cameron. You paid $1,000. $1,000 is some indication of guilt. Goodbye.
15-year-old Stephanie Schumann and her mother, 42-year-old phone operator Deborah Drake, are suing Stephanie's father, 43-year-old auto parts dealer Eric Schumann.
You're her mother?
Yes.
Your parents are divorced?
Yes.
And you had been living with your father for about 4 or 5 years?
Yes, about 4 or 5 years.
There was some sort of an altercation at work.
Yes.
Place where your father had worked for a couple of years and he had gotten you a job there. And then after the altercation at work, you moved out.
Yes.
And claimed that after you moved out, your father either destroyed or kept some of your property. You weren't there during the course of the altercation or anything else. So why don't you have a seat for me?
Thank you.
When did you start to work with your father?
We started doing inventory services a few years back when I was in 8th grade, and we've been doing them off and on for the weekends just so I can make some money for myself.
All right, now when did this incident happen?
January 28th.
What happened?
We were working up in Long Beach, and we were working in a very enclosed area, and it tends to get very noisy when you're doing inventories.
What is it, doing inventories? Explain that to me.
It's where you go to a dealership, and you sit and you count parts.
Car parts?
Yes.
Okay.
And it got kind of noisy, and I had to ask him several times to repeat some part numbers, and he started getting very frustrated with me, and that morning I was not in the best mood to be dealing with this, so I started getting frustrated back. It led to some words passing between us, and then he told me, just go. I don't want you working with me no more. This is getting very annoying. Why don't you go take a walk? And I told him, look, I just want to continue working. I don't want to have a big deal with this. I don't want to have an argument. Please, let's just keep working. He told me, no, go take a walk. So I didn't want any trouble, so I just went and took a walk for about 30 minutes. And when I felt that I had cooled off enough and he had cooled off enough, we could handle working together, I went back into the dealership. I found where he was. I wanted to start working again, and he told me, no, I don't want you here for the rest of the day. You're fired. I don't want you ever working with me again. I told him, please, this will be the last time we ever work together. He said, no, go take a walk the rest of the day. So I decided to go ahead and comply with this because I didn't want anything further embarrassing to happen. And I went and took a walk. I ended up walking a couple streets down to a nearby park and just sat there for a few hours from about 8 o'clock to maybe 11:15.
In the morning?
In the morning. And I returned to find that his car was no longer in the parking lot. He was no longer at the site. I talked to our boss, and he said he'd already left at 9 o'clock in the morning. Didn't say where he was going, didn't say if he would ever be back. So I went out in front of the dealership, and no sign of him whatsoever until maybe 12 o'clock in the afternoon when I was offered a ride home with a coworker whom I didn't know. And from then, I went to our house. Nobody was home. I didn't have my key, and so I decided just to walk the 1.5 miles to my mother's house and to deal with things from then. And we just decided that I should live there, and it was no longer going to work that I lived with my father.
When did you go and get your property?
That night, I went to go and get some useful stuff like clothing, things that I found to be very personal.
Did you go with your mother?
Yes, I went with my mother and my stepfather, and we made a call to the police for a keep the peace call so that nothing gets out of hand.
So what is it that you claim your father has of yours?
For Christmas this last year, I received a Fender bass guitar.
So a guitar, what else?
Some T-shirts, some leather pants, some of my stuffed animals that I wanted to keep because I have cherish over those. A snow globe I got for Christmas from my step-grandmother, some teddy bears that I received for Christmas.
Okay, but mostly the guitar.
Mostly the guitar and a VCR that he gave me.
So tell me what happened at work that day.
Well, the morning had started out a little rough. She had informed me before we started work that she was in a, quote, PMS mood. So I was already informed that this was going to be a rough afternoon. Her mood escalated through the course of the day, and the situation we were in, the work conditions we were in, were kind of difficult. She became frazzled by that, and it escalated from there to the point where she was using obscenities and such, and I knew at that point that we needed to change the situation, where I asked her to step away. She refused. It escalated. Finally, she did step away, but after she had stepped away, my boss came up and informed me I no longer was employed there, and I requested to leave post haste.
So you got fired?
Essentially.
You no longer work for them?
Actually, they just recently contacted me to ask me to return, and I have, as of this last weekend.
So you were out of work for at least 2 months?
Yes.
What happened with your daughter's things?
As of that evening, we had gone through, my fiance and I, her bedroom, which was an absolute pigsty, cleaned everything up, boxed everything, placed it out on the front stoop where they were informed to come and get it. As she has all those possessions, less the guitar, a TV, I know nothing of a VCR, and some other items I can't release to her.
Why can't you release them to her?
One is a cell phone that I am financially responsible for. The other one is a handgun that we go target shooting on occasion. And unfortunately, she cannot have possession of that due to the fact she's living with her stepfather is an ex-convict.
You don't give a 15-year-old handgun anyway. You have a guitar?
Yes. I wanted to exercise some tough love, and I felt retaining these items in lieu of maybe an apology I could receive on this, which I have not received as of yet.
You don't have a VCR, but you have a television set.
Correct.
Was that television set a gift to your daughter?
Also.
You didn't mention that.
I don't really want the TV set back because at my mother's house, I get to stay in my brother's room, and they had already a TV set in there, and I didn't find it necessary to have 2 TV sets.
And you know nothing about a VCR?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, I received that VCR because he had bought a new VCR, and he told me that this one is no good, and that it'd be better than throwing it out if I took it and used it in my room.
I stand corrected.
So there is a VCR there someplace?
Non-functional, but there is a VCR.
Okay, so she wants the guitar and the VCR. You have any more of her stuffed animals?
Not that I'm aware of. There are some Christmas items she's welcome to, yes.
Okay. So what your father wants, Ms. Schumann, really, is an apology. When you went to live with your father, you were 10?
Yes, I was about 10 years old.
Was that a court order? Or was that an arrangement between your parents?
I think it was an arrangement because I felt it'd be best that since my mother was leaving the house, that me and my brother be split up, so that'd be less problem for her, i.e. me and my brother not fighting so much. And
how old is your brother?
He's 17 right now.
Gotcha. I'm here to, other than these items which your dad's going to give you back, to make things better.
Okay.
From the time you were 10 years old, did he take reasonable care of you?
Physically, yes, but emotionally, not really.
He may not be perfect. Did he try?
I felt that he didn't try very hard when it comes to day-to-day living.
Maybe he didn't have the capacity.
That's what I felt, too.
Maybe. But teenage kids are sometimes difficult.
I agree.
Right?
Yes.
Had some of those? Bert's had some of those? Are you happy living with your mother now for a while?
I'm quite happy living over there.
Schumann says after a fight with her father, Eric Schumann, he kicked her out of the house and kept her belongings.
Now, your father doesn't intend to keep these things from you. What he intended to do was he wanted you to say, I'm sorry for causing you so much difficulty. You were in a bad mood. I got fired. I was off work for 2 months because of what happened. At least say sorry.
I understand that. And I also feel that, I don't want to seem like, a stuck-up child, but I feel that I should receive an apology for being abandoned in Long Beach.
Yeah, that probably wasn't the right thing to do. Sometimes parents aren't perfect. I'll tell you a story. When one of my children came home from college, their first year, I went and picked them up at the bus station. He got off the bus, and I noticed something glimmering in his ear. I said, oh, that's interesting. Take it out. This was a long time ago. I've softened up a little bit since. As long as it's not sticking on the end of his nose, I'm happy. But then, I said, what is that thing hanging out of your ear? Oh, told me pretty much, get a life. So I said to him, you and your friend may get into the car. The earring cannot. So he thought I was joking. I attempted to get into the car, and I left. I left him at the bus station. And he managed to find his way home. Sure, he said, how could you dare do that? Leave me at the bus station. I said, I will, I'm here picking you up. I travel. Get the earring out of your ear. So he came home and spent the Thanksgiving holiday, and he went back, and I drove him back to the bus station. And as soon as he got into the bus, put it back in his ear. But I did abandon him at the bus station. Now, does that mean I maybe could have handled it a little bit differently? Absolutely. But he knew I loved him. Sometimes parents are not perfect and they don't handle things perfectly. That doesn't mean you're supposed to stay angry at your father forever. He certainly doesn't want to be angry at you.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want it. So give him a hug.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
And
okay.
I wasn't angry at him. I did, in fact, make an effort to get a hold of him after, what, a month?
Approximately.
About a month, to inform him, since moving out, I have picked up with my life, and
I'm very proud of her.
like I'm in the drama. I'm going to be in the drama play. I'm in the show choir. I'm in the choir at our school. I'm in the band at our school, and I'm taking more responsibility with my life. And I just wanted to share that with him.
Okay. So you'll make arrangements to get your guitar and the VCR. You take care of that within the next day or so?
Certainly.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He wasn't exactly the perfect father, but he did try.
We learn from our mistakes.
Don't mouth off. It gets you nowhere.
I'm so sorry for what's happened. I hope we can mend what, bonds we've broken and get our relationship back together.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Rogers. Step forward, please.
33-year-old convenience store manager Grace Smith is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 34-year-old foreman Bruce Rogers, for the cost of her braces. She claims he paid for the braces with money from their joint savings account.
All right, this is a very convoluted and mysterious case since each of you is suing for the same thing, the cost of your braces. I'm going to try to piece together what I understand from these complaints, because they are rather strange. The two of you lived together with your children for several years. According to you, Miss Smith, there came a time when you wanted to have braces put on your teeth to straighten your teeth, make your smile better. The braces were about $3,300. You say that the defendant went to the orthodontist and surprised you, came home and gave you a paid receipt saying, I paid for your braces, and you believed that was a gift. Within a year of that, you separated. At the time of the separation, the defendant, according to you, had $8,000 in his savings account. But it was clear that you had also put in money into his savings account over the years that you lived together. So far, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant wrote you a check for $4,000, saying this was our savings account. You put in money, I put in money, here's half of the savings account. You say that he had, in addition to the savings account, money coming in from a job that he was doing, $6,000. And you feel as if you would be entitled to half of that as well. So far, correct?
So far, yeah.
And he says, I'm not giving you any money from work that I did already. I paid for your braces. Or, just don't have any right to that money. So you want the money back for the braces, which he already paid for. You understand that?
You're the judge.
I know. Mr. Rogers is suing for the cost of the braces. $3,300, since he says he's not going to have a chance to see that smile because you don't look it together. Is that your claim?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Smith, would you tell me why you believe that you would be entitled to any part of the $6,000 that Mr. Rogers had coming in from a job?
Okay, I put, over the 2 years that we were together, I put over $10,000 in the savings account. First year, we took $5,000. I put $5,000. He put $5,000 on the house. The rest of the money stayed in a savings account. The second year, I put another $4,600 in there. $4,000 of it he gave me back. There was another $6,000 that I have no account for. That's the reason I asked him, I said, what about the $3,000 that's coming in? Well, you're wearing your braces out the door. I'll never get to see you smile, so there's your $3,000. During the time we was together, I was taking our children and getting their teeth fixed. We started talking about it. I said, I don't like the gap in my teeth. I said, I never smiled. Well, he said, well, you go check on it, see how much it costs and everything. Let me know, and I'll go pay for it. So I did. If I didn't have the money to go pay for it, so I went and checked on it.
Well, you did. It came out of your savings account.
And so he
Just a second. Ms. Rogers, where did you think he got the $3,300 from to pay your braces?
From the savings account.
Of course.
For where we both put money in.
I understand that. But you knew he was taking the money out of the savings account. Over the years that you were together, didn't you purchase anything that came out of that savings account?
I never touched the savings account.
Well, you never touched it. But it was used for purchases of things. Didn't you purchase things, go away on vacation, do things?
Yes. Yes, we did.
Of course you did. I mean, you don't expect any court to go over your finances for the last 2 years and figure out where each dollar went that was in that savings account.
No, no, ma'am.
Of course not. So you got braces.
Mm-hmm.
Braces were $3,400. There's your money. He gave you $4. You got your braces. That's $7,300 or $7,400. And you say you put in 10 altogether, and in the course of 2 years, maybe you spent a couple of $1,000s on something, the two of you. Going away on vacations. Did you ever go away on vacations together? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid for the vacations?
We both did.
From what?
From saving.
So that's what happens. Now what do you want? Now what do you want? You want the money for the braces?
Yeah.
Why do you think you're entitled to the money back for the braces?
Well, when she brought home the payment plan from the orthodontist, we sat down, we went over it. She went to the dentist. He referred her to the orthodontist, which the dentist wrote a letter stating that. And she went, the orthodontist seen what they could do for her, gave her a payment plan, and by paying all at one time, we could save anywhere between $300 to $600, depending on what payment plan we did if we paid it all at once. So I agreed that we would pay it all at once. Well, I also made the statement that she would have to help rebuild the savings because it took a lot out of the savings at the time. And it wasn't 2 months after I paid for the braces she left.
Consider it like going away on a vacation, Mr. Rogers. You went away on a vacation, only this vacation she's going to have nice teeth. You can't get either one of them back. You decided to pay it all at one time. You decided, right?
Yeah, well, we made the agreement, yes.
No, no, no. You decided. I don't think she made any kind of decision at all. You decided to go to the dentist. You wanted to save some money. You paid it all at one time, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, if you had paid it in installments, then she would have been responsible.
I wished I'd have done that.
Right. Well, hindsight is 20/20. Did you ever hear that statement? So you've got your $6,000 that you had coming in from the job when you separated. That's yours. She's got the braces. Consider it you paid for them out of your savings. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Moon versus Sanchez. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Moon, you run a daycare center. Is that out of your home?
Yes.
How many children do you take care of?
My license capacity allows up to 10.
How long have you been doing it?
A year and a half.
There came a time, according to your complaint, that the defendant brought her baby to you to take care of.
Yes.
And she signed a contract. And included in that contract was a 2-week cancellation clause, which means she had to give you 2 weeks' notice of her intention to remove the child from your daycare. Is that right?
Yes.
And at some point, and you'll tell me when that was, you noticed that the child had what appeared to you to be a bruise on his back, and you weren't sure what it was, and you did what you felt you were required to do by law, which was to call Child Protective Services. Right?
Yes.
You arrived at the daycare center. There was a detective there, according to you.
Yes.
Ultimately, it was determined that there were no problems with the child. There was either a birthmark or a small bruise. In any event, you decided that you didn't want the child to go back to that daycare.
Yes, sir.
Immediately. And you are suing her for the 2 weeks of daycare.
And also absent days.
What's absent days?
When the child misses, it's in the contract that I still require payment when a child's absent.
Okay. Well, when was the child absent? That's not in your complaint.
He had missed 3 days. He was only there for a week and a half.
And how much did she pay you?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
No.
How many days was he actually there?
5.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And how much a day do you get?
Under her circumstances, social services assist her with daycare, and so they pay an hourly rate.
So she doesn't pay you. Social services pays you?
Yes. But social services does not cover absent days nor 2 weeks cancellation notice as required in the contract. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
It is from here to...
All right. I have a couple of questions to ask you. How many children did you have at the time that Miss Sanchez brought her son into your daycare?
That's been some time ago. I really couldn't recall off the top of my head.
Well, when was it?
It was in January. I'm assuming probably 5 or 6 because my license capacity includes my children, and they go to school all day.
So you don't know how many children you had in January?
No.
How many children do you have now?
7, plus my 3.
How many children did you have last month?
It varies.
What do you mean it varies?
Well, last month I had some children go on vacation. I had a child move to Wichita. I mean, there's circumstances to where your
How many were enrolled in your school last month? I don't care whether they were on vacation. How many were enrolled?
Like I said, I don't know.
Okay. How many people...
I didn't see that pertained to the case, so I didn't bring that information. What does the amount of children enrolled in my daycare have to do with her son having bruises?
Shh, shh. Ed, I don't want to hear anything from you. Miss Moon, when you go to a court and you have a trial, one of the things that you do is you answer the questions posed to you by either the judge or a lawyer, because sometimes information that may not seem to be relevant to you is relevant to the person who is required to make a fact-finding determination. In this case, that's me. So I believe it is relevant how many children you had last month enrolled in your school.
Like
and as
me
far
to
as
go
I'm
call and have my records looked up?
Oh, no, absolutely not. The fact that you, as a daycare provider with a limited number of children, have no independent memory of how many children were in your school last month, I'm not talking about a year ago or in January, is a relevant piece of information
Which
to
week
me.
would you
I
like?
will move on with my next question. Now, under what circumstances do you say you noticed these bruises?
He was complaining about his back hurting. And I have the witness here. She was one of my daycare mothers that was there picking up her child when he was complaining about it. And I lifted up his shirt and looked, and she is sitting across the room, and she was shocked by it.
Okay, so step up, please. I'd like to hear from you.
Well, I had arrived to pick up my daughter when I got off work, and the boy was complaining that his back was hurting. And Stephanie went over there and lifted up the back of his shirt.
This was, just a second, this was then at the end of the day?
Of my day.
What time was that?
About, I would guessing, say 3 to 4.
And did you hear the child complaining that his back hurt?
Yes, I did.
When you got there?
Right.
Did you ask the plaintiff whether the child had been complaining before?
No, I did not.
Was the child complaining before?
He had not
3
said
o'clock.
anything. He had just gotten up from a nap. That's why.
Speak. Answer my question. Had the child
I said
complained
no.
before 3 o'clock?
No.
The answer was no. What time had Miss Sanchez's child come to your daycare that morning?
12:30.
Is that right?
Yes.
So the child was there for approximately 2.5 hours, and the first complaint that you heard from the child was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that right?
Yes.
Had the child been there the day before?
No, he was absent that day.
Is that correct?
Yes.
What was the reason the child was absent that day?
I had a doctor appointment, and I was gone pretty much most of the day.
A doctor's appointment for yourself or for the child?
For myself. I was pregnant at the time.
You went with the child?
Yes, the child went with me.
How old is he?
He is now 4 years old.
How old was he when he was at the daycare center?
3 years. 3 years and like 10 months.
Now, when you picked up the child's shirt, I assume you did?
Yes.
What did you see?
Bruises.
Tell
what
me about the
appeared
bruises.
to us to be bruises.
Are they size of a small fist? Were they circular? Were they black and blue?
Well, the social services described them as
No,
finger
I don't want to hear what
bruises,
social services.
And
They-
so about the size of your finger. That would be.
Tip. Tell me what you observed.
I would say that it looked like fingertip bruises also. It was on the ribs, and I thought that I had saw them on both sides, but the SRS findings said that they did not.
I don't care what the SRS
Well,
findings
I thought
said.
that I had saw them on both sides.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question about these bruises. Were they red or black and blue?
They were dark. They were like a darker bruise. Like they had been there for a couple of days at least.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare owner Stephanie Moon says former client Cynthia Sanchez terminated her services without proper notice.
You called social services, is that right?
I'm mandated by law under my license to report it.
Right. Absolutely. You are. Is this the first time that you had ever reported an incident?
Yeah, the first time I've ever found bruises on a child, yes.
Okay, so it was the first time you ever reported an incident in the then year and some months that you've been in business. How many people supervise these children with you?
Just me.
Just you and 10 children?
Yes.
What are the ages of the 10 children?
Well, I have a 7- and 8-year-old that go to school all day. One of my daycare children is 9. He goes to school all day. I have him in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon in summertime. I have an infant that is now 10 months myself. There is a 7-month-old. I have a 2-year-old, 2 4-year-olds right now.
Are you not required by the state to have someone there with you when all the children are there, when all 10 children are there?
No, my license capacity is for me being there, I'm allowed 10 children. If I have an extra person there, I would be allowed more children.
Now, tell me what happened when you arrived at the daycare center.
I was met by detective and social worker. I actually know detective, and
from
my son played baseball for the police department, and that's when I met him. And I was kind of shocked to see him. I was like, I didn't know you had a child that attended daycare here. And he goes, Cynthia, I'm not here for that reason. And then he explained to me what the problem was, and of course I was in shock. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you did, and I did not know there was bruises on my child, so that's what they said they were. So he took me back inside, and I pulled up my son's shirt, and I was looking at him, and I asked my son right in front of the detective and the social worker, they were standing right there, you know, what happened? I said, what happened? And he made the statement that he had fell off of his bike. You know, he did it on his bike, and I was kind of shocked because he had not told me that. The social worker told me I had to take him to the pediatrician the following day to have a complete exam done on my child, which was fine. I took off of work the next day. Actually, I was going to have my sister take him, and I decided I needed to be there as his mother.
Were there ever any charges filed
No,
with
Your
regard
Honor.
to this incident?
I have a thing from the SRS that says that they were not.
All right, social services found the report to be unsubstantiated. Okay. Now, at what point did you decide not to send your child back to the daycare?
The day I had took him to the doctor, she was kind of shocked at the allegations. She had seen my child since he was like 3 months of age, and I was really upset about it because I don't even hit my children. I don't hit them, and I felt like she didn't know me well enough to come to that allegation that I had abused my child. You know, kids are kids.
Okay, Ms.
Can I
Sanchez,
say something,
let me
please?
stop you right there, please. Ms. Moon did not make that determination. What Ms. Moon did was look at your child, and there was somebody else there, and they saw what they believed to be marks on him.
Right.
She is a mandated reporting source. She is required by law, if she suspects child abuse or neglect, to put in a call. That being said, I do not believe that you are required, under the circumstances, to give her 2 weeks' notice, because I can understand that there would be, under these circumstances, animosity.
May I say something?
Sure.
Daycares have these contracts for several reasons. One, financial stability, because you got to have a profitable business to stay open. So if you're saying, oh, well, the mother gets mad at me because I had to call social services to inspect something.
I'll give it to you both ways.
And the parent doesn't have to pay 2 weeks severance, so
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you 2 ways, madam. First of all, I've looked at your contract very carefully. Contract is something I know. You say in your contract, if you find yourself no longer in need of my services, I require 2 weeks' notice prior to termination. If you want the parents to pay for those 2 weeks, you have to put that in your contract.
There was one other case that I've won.
You won other cases where people terminated?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to see it. Why people terminated you, for all these people terminated you without giving you 2 weeks' notice. I mean, I can understand it.
Oh, geez,
I
that's
can
a lot.
understand it.
That's all the same case. It is one file for you. To see that in our state, we are allowed our 2 week severance pay, because if you were fired from your job, would you not expect unemployment?
I want to tell you something, madam. If I lived in your state that permitted a single person to have 10 children in their home without any support services, without at least 2 other providers
I
in
don't
the
even
home.
have 10 children
I'm
at one
speaking!
time. So?
Case is dismissed.
Can I have my papers, please?
Step out.
I've had one other case, and I was granted my severance pay.
I feel like it went my favor. As you see, she's hostile anyway, and I'm glad I didn't keep my son in her care.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Balarjan versus Venetian, step forward, please.
22-year-old production control assistant Elisa Balarjan is suing her former friend, 21-year-old customer service rep Thomas Van Eschen, for the cost of a trip to Arizona to attend a NASCAR race.
Ms. Balarjan, according to your complaint, you, the defendant, and I think one other person, decided to take a little vacation trip, a little road trip. And the agreement was that you would split expenses. The defendant didn't have the money that was necessary. You agreed to advance certain monies to him for the trip. So far correct?
Yep.
And then there also came a time when you were on the trip, sir, that you lost your wallet.
Yes.
And so that they were advancing you money.
Yeah, but at the same time, I had money every time.
According to your answer, there came a time when you lost your wallet. Shall I read you what you wrote?
I know what I wrote.
And they were advancing you some money.
Okay.
Isn't that what you wrote?
It is.
All right. I gather that the amount of money that was advanced is not the issue. The issue is that all 3 of you stayed at your grandfather's house for some part of the trip for free, and you should be credited in that amount so that that would vitiate the debt.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So what was his third of the trip?
What he still owes me, Your Honor.
No, I didn't ask you that.
His third of the trip would be $690.67.
And he paid you $150 after the trip was over, and another $100 before you went on the trip. So far, is that correct?
Yes.
Leaving $440.
I don't think I should owe any. I mean,
No.
the fact.
I understand you don't think you should owe any, but the reason you don't feel as if you should owe any is not because of the amount, but because your grandfather put you all up for free.
Right, correct, yes.
All right. When did you decide to stay at his grandfather's?
I had actually made reservations for a hotel before we had went down there. Mr. Venetian had offered us a place to stay at his grandfather's house, free of charge.
What did he say to you?
Do
you remember what you said?
No, I don't. I don't remember. I don't think I even said that. I mean, after we lost my wallet, I was just like, okay, we can stay at my grandfather's house. We were already staying at my grandfather's house the first night, and it's just the fact that they got all the room free, they got food free, phone bill.
I haven't gotten to that yet, sir. So he said we can stay at my grandfather's for free. Does that sound right?
I don't remember saying we could stay there for free, but yeah, sure. I mean,
Well, did you ever discuss how much it would cost to stay at your
We did
grandfather's
not.
house? You did not?
no,
How many nights did you stay at your grandfather's house?
5 nights.
Is that right?
4 nights.
Let's say 4 nights. It's easy. And did you have any meals there?
We had 3 meals, Your Honor.
In total, or 3 meals a day?
3 meals for the entire week.
Did you use his phone?
No, I did not.
Anybody else use the phone?
Not that I am aware of, no.
You know anything different? Did you ever get a bill from your grandfather for
No,
long
I couldn't
distance
get the bill
calls?
from. I could not get the bill from the company. So
No, did you ever get a... Pay attention. I said, did you ever get a bill from your grandfather?
I did
For
not.
long distance...
Try it again.
I'm going to try it again.
Okay.
Did you ever get a bill from your grandfather for long distance calls?
I did not.
Perfect! So you explain to me now, in 30 seconds or less, sir, why you should be relieved of your third of $440 when it cost you nothing to stay at your grandfather's house and you had no previous agreement with the plaintiff or the other person that by staying at your grandfather's house, this would do away with your having to pay your third of the trip.
Well, obviously, I shouldn't have to pay because he's part of my family, but I think they should have to pay. They would have had to pay the cost of a hotel for 2 people. They would have had to pay to go out to eat every day, and then they ran up his phone bill, which I didn't get the bill. But I mean, also I have a affidavit here that was notarized from my mother. If you want, I can give you her work number if you want to call her. I mean, she couldn't make it here. She's at work. And
it says what?
Basically that she came over to my mother's house asking my mother to pay for me. She goes, yeah, he owes me money. Can you pay for him? And my mom's like, well, then sat down and talked to her about it, or stood at the door and talked to her about it. She's like, yeah, I will send your grandfather some money to cover that. And he never received a thing.
If she agreed to pay your grandfather for something, and she didn't do it, which I doubt, that's between her and your grandfather. It's not between her and you. You had an agreement with her. Your agreement was you were going to split the cost of this trip 3 ways. Pay it! Judgment for the plaintiff, $440, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 580.
Amount to $500, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 346 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hastings, Washington. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Who are you?
Brenda Hastings. I'm Michelle's mother.
How old is Michelle?
17.
Okay. Miss Miller, Michelle is your son's girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your son.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're really suing your son and his girlfriend. Her mother is here because she's a minor.
Yes, ma'am.
It appears from what I've read that you decided to rent a house. You were separating from your husband or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that your son and his girlfriend said that they wanted to come and live with you. You say that this didn't work out, but they owe you for back rent. They owe you for money that they put on your credit card. They have a counterclaim. And their counterclaim involves both of their cars, which they say that you took, you hid, and caused damage to.
No, ma'am.
So that's what the case is about. Very complicated. When did you decide to rent this house?
About the 2nd week of September.
And what was the rent on the house?
$575 a month.
And what was your arrangement with your son and his girlfriend?
I had planned on moving. My husband and I were just going to separate for a little while to work out some differences. There was a duplex that I had been waiting on that was around the corner from the house. My 15-year-old son had told Charlie here that we were moving, and Charlie indicated to him that he needed a place to go. He was tired of the stuff at Brenda's house. I had talked to Charlie.
He had been living with you? Is that right? How old are you?
19.
I had talked to Charlie and told him that was fine. There was no mention of Michelle at the time. That came up later with Charlie saying that she don't really act like she acts, but she'll act better when she's not around her mother. I thought about it for a while, and I said, well, we'll give it a try.
This is a lot of information that I really don't need.
Okay. Well, I went up and asked the landlord, and the landlord said they were renting it.
Oh, okay, fine. So you decided to rent it, and you decided to let the 2 of them move in with you.
Right.
And what was the financial arrangement with them?
We would go on the rent 3 ways.
Did you discuss that with her mother?
No, ma'am.
And you knew she was 17?
Her mother had put her out.
Negative.
They wanted both. They had asked several times for both of these to put them out. And my young son here, Derek,
Miss Miller,
can tell you.
That's not my question. My question was, you knew that Michelle was 17.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Michelle cannot enter into a contract with you because she's a minor. So if you did not have an agreement with her mother to pay a third of the rent, you cannot sue Michelle for a third of any rent that you believe she owes you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's do away with that. So let's deal with your son. Did your son give you any money towards the rent?
No, ma'am. He gave me $150 to help put on deposits on the utilities.
So he gave you $150?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did they live in the house?
6 weeks.
3
weeks. 6 weeks.
And when did you move out of the house?
The 28th.
Of September?
Yes, ma'am.
Charlie did not move out of that house until the 10th of October.
I moved out the 28th.
You stayed there. You were on the run from the police.
Shh, just a second. Miss Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
What rent do you believe your son owes you?
For him and Michelle, then it should have been half of the $575.
No. Miss Miller. He's supposed to pay a third of the rent, right?
Right. But I have a 15-year-old at home that these 2 here complained what was his part of the rent because he was getting child support.
Did you move in with another child?
The 15-year-old moved in shortly after these two did. He didn't stay there all the time, but he was there.
What about you? Did you move in?
I didn't move in till the 24th
Of September. September?
No, August. Oh, no, it was September. I'm sorry. I didn't even stay there half of the time. I
Miss Miller.
stayed maybe a whole week
Miss
out of
Miller, did you move in August 24th or September 24th?
September 24th.
Okay, well, let's go to the credit cards that you say that they used. How did they come to have possession of your credit cards?
They didn't have possessions. We had an agreement. I have a letter from the landlord because Mrs. Hastings was putting them out. We had an agreement to try to get the house livable for them to live in so they had a roof over their heads. And
you're talking about credit cards, Miss Miller. Let me hear about the credit cards money.
I put my credit cards, to get the house in order for them to live in, they had to have floors, they had to have cabinets, it had to have everything. The house was gutted out. It had to have everything.
So is that what was put on your credit card?
Yes.
So why do you think they should pay for that?
Because we're in agreement. Mrs. Hastings put them out.
Negative. Stop saying Mrs. Hastings put them out. It doesn't make any difference whether she put them out or not. Now, am I correct?
It does make a difference.
No,
yes,
it doesn't make a difference legally.
Her mother put them out. He didn't have a place to go. He cannot go to my house that I own. My husband will not let him stay there. He's already ripped us off. He's breaking into the house. He's broken into the garage. He's not allowed on the property. Okay?
Miss Miller.
I did what I could to get him a roof over his head.
Miss Miller, you're his mother. Listen to me. You're his mother.
Excuse me, ma'am. But this boy, I've got papers. This boy has been in and out of jail, detentions. He was stolen from me when he was 14 months old. I've got legal documents, Charlie, to prove it all.
Miss Miller.
He's on drugs. I've tried for years to get him help, okay?
Miss Miller, listen to me. I understand that you have a frustration with him.
If you helped him out as much as I have in a lifetime, you would too.
Miss Miller, listen to me. If Miss Hastings allowed your son to come and live in her house with her 17-year-old daughter, then she's got rocks in her head and probably decided she had had enough. Bottom line, that's your son. It's not her son. And if she had had enough of him and was putting him out, and her daughter Michelle says, I'm not staying here without him, then she says, you want to go with him? Go with him.
He's been living there with her since she was 15 and he was 17.
You want to know something?
And she's put him out 3 times.
Miss
and
Miller.
I have been there.
Miss Miller. Miss Miller.
Yeah, okay.
Miss Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your son. And if she's put him out 3 times, and if he was living there from the time he was 17 years old, it had to have been because you and your husband put him out.
Exactly. No, he left on his... No, you left on your own
Miss
because
Miller,
you
don't
were
talk
on
to him.
drugs, Charlie.
Miss
You were
Miller,
selling drugs
1, 2,
out of my
3.
house.
Miss Miller.
And I called the police
Put her
on you.
outside.
That's why you left.
Put her outside. I'm going to let you cool off outside, Miss Miller.
Her son, Charlie Washington, his girlfriend, Michelle Hastings, and Michelle's mother, Brenda, owe for rent and repairs to her home.
Okay. Miss Miller, you can't talk to your son. This is not time for you to shout at your son when you're in a court. Time to do that is when you had him in therapy when he was 7 years old. If your son has been giving you problems and moved out of your house, whether you put him out of your house or whether he left voluntarily, you knew where he was living with the Hastings family and their daughter. That was probably a major error on their part. Some people do that. I never quite understand why they've taken somebody else's problem into their home. But be that as it may, if you decided that you wanted to put a roof over your son's head as his mother, that's what your job is. That kind of unconditional love is what you do for a child, even if they drive you crazy. Are you currently living in the house?
No, ma'am.
Did you decide to go back to your husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you are now?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you're going to stay, you think?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the cars. You took your son's car out of impound?
I paid to get it out, yes, ma'am.
What'd you do with it?
Set it in my backyard.
And what happened to it?
It sat there until the day that he came and threatened me. And then I took it down on the corner where I told him and the police officer that I would set it and left the keys in it, that in the Nissan.
And somebody stole it?
I don't know.
Well, it wasn't found on the corner, is that right?
I don't know where they found it at.
Where did you find your car?
I found mine in a ditch on Orville Smith.
It was not in a ditch. I got pictures of where I left it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what you're saying is somebody took the car after you left it there with the keys in it. Why'd you leave it there with the keys in it?
There was no keys in it.
There was keys in it.
When you left it, the keys were in it. So I'm asking you, why did you leave it with the keys in the car?
He came, he harassed me. I didn't want him on the property. And for him to come get the keys, then he would have to come on the property. And I talked to him in the back of the police car and told him.
What were the police doing there?
I called him because he threatened me.
When did he threaten you?
When he came to the house.
Was this after he had moved out of the rental house?
No, he was in jail. He had just gotten out October 31st, and I didn't know he was out of jail.
What was he in jail for?
Theft of property from an auto and breaking and entering of an auto.
What were you in jail for?
Assault the third.
He was also in jail for that.
Assault the third.
Who did you assault?
My girlfriend.
You ever arrested for breaking and entering?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
In 97.
What about auto theft?
Yes, ma'am.
So you got his car out of impound, you told the police he had threatened you, you had taken the car, you were parking it at the corner, you were leaving the keys in the car, and that's the last you know of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found the car when you got out of jail, sir?
I did.
Where did you find it?
It's on Orville Smith Road. She parked it in the edge of the woods.
No, she doesn't park it anywhere. You found it there. You didn't see
I found it there.
You found it there.
I got out and I looked and I turned around and I went back to my house. And I brought him down there and he couldn't find no keys nowhere in the car.
Well, maybe somebody who stole the car took the keys after they finished joyriding in the car. What about your car?
Well, my mother and my father found it in a hayfield.
What makes you think that Miss Miller took your car?
Because she stole the keys out of my purse. I didn't have it in my possession.
No, I did not steal the keys from her purse. This key goes to a car of Charlie's that he has in their yard. I don't know if it runs or not, but it was on this key ring with this key. And when I talked to Charlie on the phone after he had beat up Michelle, he told me one of them keys went to the car. And that's how I got the car.
So what did you do with the car?
Charlie explained for me to take the car to my house and park it and not to let Michelle have the car.
You mean her car?
No, it's his car. It's legally in his name.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is your car, the car that you're talking about, that you're suing over, in whose name is that car titled?
His.
You have two cars titled in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
What year cars are they?
94 and 87.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I was working at Arby's.
At Arby's? Who bought the cars?
I bought one, she bought one. But she wasn't old enough to put it in her name, so I signed for it.
Why didn't her mother sign for it?
Because they went and got it without me. I was at work. They went looking at cars. They picked up one and she bought it.
Miss Hastings,
yes.
Is he still living in your house?
He is right now, yeah.
You had him arrested for beating up your daughter. You've thrown him out of your house at least 3 times.
No.
He left your house 3 times in the last 2 years. You took him into his house, into your house when he was 17 years old. Since he was 17 years old, he's been arrested several times, according to him, for a variety of things. Breaking and entering, auto theft, assaulting your daughter. Would you kindly tell me what kind of medication you're on? Because I want to take some. If you don't see that he's not right for her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bettina Miller says her son Charlie Washington, his girlfriend Michelle Hastings, and Michelle's mother Brenda owe for rent and repairs to her home.
Miss Hastings, he's not right for her.
He may not be right for her, but everybody has to make their own choices. And
hey. Everybody has to make their own choices once they're an adult. Until you're an adult, your parents help you make those choices, and they don't do things that encourage you to make bad choices.
Well, Tina has put her son out several times.
Tina's son is a bum. Was your daughter a bum when she was 15?
No, my daughter was in school when she was 15.
Is she still in school?
She's going to night classes.
No. Before she met him, she was in school.
Yeah, but she...
After she met him, she's not in school.
Had nothing to do with him.
Oh. Listen, Miss Miller.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to give you some words of advice. Is this the first child that you've had that's been in trouble?
Yes, ma'am.
You think you know how to deal with it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you're dealing with it.
I work with the best I can.
My advice to you is you be there as a backup in case of an emergency, in case something bad happens. But until he grows up and stops doing things that are both harmful to himself, to the people that care about him, and to you, he's going to have to make his own mistakes. If you put yourself in a financial position where you've stretched your finances, it's a foolish thing to do. Because what will happen is he will never be forced to grow up. You tell me you put him out of the house, or he left the house when he was 15. The Hastings took him in. And when the Hastings decided to put him out, you provided a roof over his head. He's never had to grow up and face responsibility. Had 2 cars titled in his name, working at Arby's.
Well, he didn't buy the car. The Firebird was given to him as a gift by me and my husband. I did not put him out of the house. He had a choice. He could go to jail or he could go back to Michigan to his dad. He took off on his own. He was on the run. We did look for him. He stayed with a friend of his up in a trailer, drinking, getting high. The owner of the trailer came to our house, wanted to know what was up. We went up there. He was gone.
Okay. Ms. Hastings, I've already told you what I think of the fact that you allowed him to move back into your house after he beat up your daughter. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Absolutely the dumbest. And if your daughter wants to be dumb enough to take off with him, as you said, people make their own choices. But you're making it real comfortable for her to do things that ultimately are going to be devastating.
It doesn't matter in what they have done. I mean, it's the car situation. It's her having them to move into a rental house because her marriage, she moved
I'm
out.
not, listen to me. I'm not dealing with your lawsuits. Both of your lawsuits are nonsense. Hers, she cannot convince me that her son owes her any money. With regard to the cars, you have no proof whatsoever that your mother took your car, put it in a ditch. She says that after an argument with you, she told the police, I'm putting the car on the street corner with the keys in it. I don't want him anywhere near my house. A reasonable explanation is that somebody walked by, saw the keys in the car, took it for a joyride, and trashed it. I think that both of you, but especially you, Miss Hastings, I don't understand you at all. What do you do all day, sir?
Now,
Now.
go to school
No, you don't.
at night.
I asked you what you did during the day. Don't tell me that you go to school at night. What do you do all day?
Hunt for jobs.
Hunt for jobs. Michelle, what do you do all day?
Work.
Where?
At Walmart.
You work 5 days a week?
8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
And you come home and he's watching TV? Michelle, look at me. You come home and he's watching TV?
I don't know what he does during the day.
Michelle, before you get pregnant, get smart. You'll be working at Walmart, 9 months pregnant, and he's going to be sitting home playing with Nintendo that you will have bought him for Christmas. Get smart. Cases are dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 4.
Correct. There came a time recently when your brother had a stroke. His wife initially brought him home from the hospital, but then put him in a nursing home. Couldn't handle him. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You went to visit with your brother and decided to bring him to your home.
Yes, I brought him to my home.
When was that?
7/21/99.
And you've been caring for him ever since?
Yes.
You were also, according to your complaint, given a power of attorney over his finances.
Right.
May I see those papers, please? Name with an X.
Yes.
And it was done in the hospital before you took him to your house.
Right.
Okay. Your complaint alleges that the defendant, who is your brother's wife, used credit cards of his fraudulently, and you are suing to get that money back.
Yes.
So that's what it's about. Ms. Privet, how long have you been married to Mr. Privet?
15 years.
Do you have children together?
A little girl.
How old is your daughter?
2.
Does your husband have any property?
We both own the car together.
Does he have any bank accounts?
Yes, but it's been changed over.
To her name?
Mm-hmm.
How much were in his bank accounts?
Wasn't anything. She took it out before she put him in the nursing home.
So your brother came to you with no money?
No money, no nothing. She had put him in the nursing home and left him there permanent and moved her man in with her.
Okay. Miss Banks, it's really important that you think very carefully as to whether or not your brother had any property.
My brother had a home he had just bought. Then he had a stroke. Then she couldn't take care of him no more. She put him in the nursing home. Then she moved the man in. Then she went to the bank and got the money out of the bank. Yeah.
You're not answering my question.
He didn't have
My
anything
question
because she
is-
had took it all.
Who is supporting your brother now?
My brother gets Social Security for him and the baby. She get the Social Security for the baby.
And is his only source of income Social Security?
Social Security. It's supposed to be my brother's baby, but the baby calling him daddy. What kind of mess is
Listen,
that?
listen to me. Shh. He had no bank accounts.
He had a bank account. She went and got the money out of the bank
How much was
account
in that bank?
after she put him in the nursing home.
How much was in the bank?
I don't know, because I told her to do it. That's why I know she did it. I told her, Janice, you go to the bank, get all the money out that you had in there. I said, because the nursing home is going to take the money.
Right.
And she did exactly what I was telling her to do. But I didn't know she had put that boy in there permanently.
Your Honor.
Yes.
She did tell me to go to the bank and get the money, but that was my own account, not Roosevelt.
Okay, how much was in that account?
I say about $300.
Okay. Now, when did you make charges on any of these credit cards?
I made them 2 weeks after he went into the nursing home, and I went to see him, and I told him I needed some things for the house and stuff and some clothes for the baby. And he gave me authorized to use the card, and that's what I did. Okay, I
How
was
much
paying
did you spend?
$1,000 and something.
Now, how long have you been collecting Social Security for your daughter?
Ever since she was born.
How much do you get a month?
$180.
$180 a month in total.
$185.
85, I'm sorry.
Who are you?
I'm her power of attorney and also her public accountant.
You're what?
I'm her witness in the case. I'm also her power of attorney and public accountant.
You're her power of attorney. Step up here. This is going to be good. No, not up here, up there. You're whose power of attorney?
Janice Prevent.
Why does she need a power of attorney? Is she incompetent?
No, she has a reading disorder and she can't read or write.
Well, then
Other
she
than
doesn't
just
need
to
a
sign her
power,
name.
somebody with a power of attorney, so she needs somebody who can read and write for her.
Right, and represented also as far as filling out checks, money orders, anything deal with finances.
Well, what is your relationship to her?
I'm a friend of hers.
Do you live there?
On the third floor, yes, I rent the third floor.
So you live there in her house?
Yes.
Good. Now sit down. Let me see the bills for the credit cards, please. You have only one child, madam?
Yes.
Are you employed?
Yeah, I work at Johns Hopkins University.
What do you do there?
Housekeeping.
What's your income?
Well, my growth is $345.
$345 a week?
Mm-hmm.
It's roughly $19,500.
Just a second.
I don't believe this man.
Just I think I wanted to go.
Okay, sir, step up, please.
I told you.
He thinks he's at a tea party.
Back up to you, right?
Who paid these credit card bills in June?
I was paying the card.
I see that they were paid.
I was paying it off, but she had his mail changed. So by she having his mail changed, I couldn't pay the bill because I didn't have
But you had been paying the bills.
Yes, I have.
Why did you have his mail changed?
They sent them to my house, and I called her up personally and asked her about it, and she said he made the bills, he paid.
You made these charges, right?
Yes.
Well, then you have to pay them. Madam, right now he collects Social Security because he's totally disabled.
That's right.
So you have to take care of all your own bills. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right.
Your Honor, could I ask you one question?
Sure.
What happened to a marriage is honorable? Could you tell me what happened to that?
Not only can I tell you what happened to that, but I don't think you should preoccupy yourself with that. Your brother is very sick.
Yes.
You take care of him. Is he aware of his surroundings?
Yes.
Does he see his daughter?
She started and she stopped. That man told her. That man came around my house one night and got her and told her she better not come back no more. And she ain't been back no more.
Does your brother miss seeing his daughter?
Yes.
Then I would suggest that you follow through on that. You can, in fact,
Oh,
follow through on that by going into your local family court and fixing an order of visitation for her to bring the child to visit with him on a regular basis.
I have.
You have to do that.
I'm not stopping her from seeing her father.
Well, she's 2 years old. She can't take a cab there herself.
She don't know her father. She called that man for daddy. She do.
So what?
I don't know why
She was, for a while, bringing the child to visit your brother.
That's been over 6, 7 months ago.
She stopped, you told me. What I'm
Right.
telling her is she should begin to do that, even without an order. Your daughter needs you to bring her there. Madam.
Yes.
Looked over the bills, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,300. That's
Thank
all.
you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she would have just came and talked to me, you know, we could have settled this, but she didn't want my brother. She just didn't want him anymore. She wanted what she had, so she got what she got.
I had nothing to say.
I think justice was beautiful.
And now the next case.
All parties on Holt versus Greska. Step forward, please.
50-year-old homemaker Antoinette Holt is suing her son's girlfriend, 25-year-old office manager Angela Gruska, for unpaid babysitting fees.
According to what I've read in your complaint, the defendant is your son's girlfriend.
At the time, yes.
Are you still together?
Yes, ma'am.
And sometime last year, the defendant and her daughter, who's how old?
She's 6 now. She was 5.
Moved into your home where your son was living with his son. He has custody of his son, is that right?
Yes, he does.
And you made an arrangement with the defendant at that time to babysit for her daughter, whose name is Sydney, while she worked.
But they did not move into my home, Your Honor. They moved into a home with my son.
So
and
they
his
would
son.
bring over the 2 children.
Correct.
Both Sydney and Stephen to your home to babysit.
Yes.
You say there was a financial arrangement which the defendant did not honor.
Correct.
And you want her to pay for the babysitting services that she did for you.
That I did for her, yes, ma'am.
You did for her. So it's sort of interesting to me because from what I read, you must have enjoyed a lovely relationship with your son because you were babysitting for his son for quite some time.
Correct. They lived with me up until February of '99.
Your son and his son?
Correct.
Do you still get along with your son?
Yes, I do.
You still see your son and your grandson, Stephen?
I still continue to watch my grandson, Stephen, yes.
So first, I want you to tell me why you would bring this lawsuit against the defendant, who it seems the two have formed a family. Don't you think that that's going to bring hard feelings?
At the time that I brought the lawsuit, she was moving out of my son's residence. So rather than have her move elsewhere, and I did not know where she was going to go, I then decided to take action at that time.
You mean things have changed since you filed the lawsuit?
Not to the best of my knowledge, no, ma'am.
Are you still living together?
We live together on and off. I stay with my mother during the week when I work, and on the weekends I come stay with him. During the week...
I mean, are you still together as a couple?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
You don't think this is going to bring an estrangement?
I wasn't aware that they were together as a couple when I started the lawsuit.
Are you aware of it now?
In that she said so, yes.
Well, why don't you tell me? You still together?
Yes.
Okay. What was your financial arrangement with the defendant as far as babysitting?
They were just moving into a home in February of '99, and since it takes a lot of extra money to move in, told them I would do them a favor. I would continue to watch my grandson at no charge, and that I would watch her daughter for a percentage of the average weekly rate of the daycare facility's charge.
So you were watching your grandson, Stephen, at no charge?
Correct.
And how long did you do this babysitting arrangement for the defendant?
Since February of '99 until Sydney went to school in the end of August.
Of?
'99.
'99. Is that correct?
Probably about a month or 2 less than that, because the babysitter that I did find over near our residence moved in around July, and she started watching her for $50 a week for me. And Steve also was out of work for probably the first couple months we moved in. He also watched Sydney for me.
So how much do you think she owes you?
$1,761.32, Your Honor, based on 22 of the 26 weeks, allowing for some time that she did not work.
Did you make any payments for babysitting to the plaintiff?
I tried to make payments a couple of times, and Steve would go over and pick up our children, and I sent him over with money, and he said, no, listen, I'll talk to Mom about the money because we have bills we need to pay. Stuff was going to get cut off.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
So she did give you some money to bring to your mother?
No. She gave me a check and my mom voided it.
Did you tell your mother that you were strapped for money?
In the beginning, yes, my mom knew. My mom helped us out on
No,
many
is that why
occasions.
she was voiding the checks?
No.
Ma'am, this was after. This was after she wrote the letters and after she wrote the letters wanting a payment plan. In her letter, she stated she wanted a payment plan to pay her back the money.
Let me see the letters.
Your Honor, I've highlighted it in red for you. This was in response to my second letter to her.
Let me see the letters.
This
for
is
money.
This is her first letter. This was my letter in response. This was her second letter. And this was my letter in response to a second letter.
Okay.
And this has my set-up payment schedule. And the canceled check also.
So she didn't void the check because she didn't want the money. She voided the check because she didn't agree with your payment plan?
Right.
I see. So the checks that you were started to give your mother were for $50. Is that right, sir?
Correct.
Which she voided because she did not accept this payment plan. And according to you, all of the time that you were babysitting from February, latter part of February 1999 until Christmas of 1999, you didn't get any payment from the defendant.
That's correct.
And you sort of let it go.
That's correct.
Because they were a couple.
That's right.
And then when you believed that they were no longer a couple, you came back and said, now I want all this money.
Correct. And I offered her payment options.
Okay. Another question, Ms. Holt. So far, you're being very honest with me. Let's say your son and the defendant got married, and everything was in good shape with them as a family, and everything was going along well, and you all were getting along. Would you have required her to pay this money back to you?
No.
I know.
Because then her daughter would have been my step-granddaughter, and I would have treated her the same as I would have treated my grandson.
Okay. But you see, you sort of lulled her into this sense of security that everything was going to be okay, and that all of a sudden you give her a bill for $1,700, which over the course of a year's period of time, when they were together, they sort of felt as if Mom is taking care of the two kids because she's a good grandmother. And you still take care of your grandson, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who knows? Unless you have a contract in writing, you say that she said she was going to call around and get the average of the daycare rates in the area, and you were going to get 75% of the average rates. She says you had an agreement for $50 a week. Unless you have that kind of contract in writing, it's going to be very difficult for me to determine who is in fact telling the truth. The bottom line, Ms. Holt, is we wouldn't be standing here today unless you believed that these two people were no longer a couple.
I let it slide.
You let it slide, and they did not even anticipate a problem.
Yes, they did, Your Honor. I many times mentioned to them that you need to take care of this situation, that you owe me, that if I were not a family member, if I were not Stephen's mother, you would have to pay. If you have the children in child care,
when did you tell
you got to
her that?
pay. Several times.
During the course of your
That's correct.
caring for the child?
That's correct.
And what did she say to you?
I'll have to talk it over with Steve. I said,
Did you
"Angie,
talk
this
it
is-"
over together?
Yes.
And? Let me hear.
We just moved into a big house. We were tight on money. You have to put all the deposits down and everything. And my mom wasn't pressed for money. So the money that would have gone to the babysitting went to other bills.
I assume that since you're living with your mother during the week, that there has been a little bit of difficulty between the two of you?
A little.
Is there a possibility that that difficulty is going to be resolved?
It's possible.
Yeah.
But not
it could go either way. It could go either way.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Clearly, you owe her some money.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a substantial discrepancy between the $600 that you sort of acknowledge that you owe her minimally, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible it's $800?
Yeah.
Ms. Holt, I'm going to do a very smart thing for you. You never know what's going to happen with your children. This relationship may be off tomorrow, but it may be on 2 weeks from now. I do, in fact, believe that you lull them into this false sense of security that if, in fact, they became a couple, all of this babysitting cost was going to be forgiven.
No, it wouldn't have.
Well, you just told me it would have. I said if
I didn't say
if
I
she
would
became your
forgive
if she became your daughter-in-law, we wouldn't be standing here today. If your son and Angela married, which would have made Sydney his stepdaughter and you step-grandmother, it would have been foolhardy for you to maintain a family relationship to say, well, I'm not going to charge my son for babysitting, but I will charge his wife for babysitting. That doesn't make for good family relations.
But, Your Honor, they were not married, and
right.
Angela did not keep up a good relationship with me at all of her own choosing. So therefore,
that's why we're here.
She still has an issue. She had a child. I took care of the child as she asked me to do, and I deserve to get paid for that.
Okay, I'm going to pay you.
Same as any daycare center.
I'm going to pay you. You claim she owes you $1,700. She says it could be as much as $800, right?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 584 on the calendar in the matter of Baird versus Schwartz. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Baird, your car was parked in your driveway?
No, in front of my house.
And you were awakened by a crash?
Yes. The way I see this whole thing...
No, just pay attention to what
Yes.
I'm saying. You were awakened by a crash. You looked outside. You saw that another car, a van or something, had hit your car.
A white van had crashed into my truck.
And as it turns out, that white van had been stolen.
Yes.
And that was your car.
Yes.
And that was stolen from in front of your house,
Yes, in my driveway.
in your driveway. And it had been stolen that night?
At 6 o'clock in the morning.
And this crash occurred at what time?
6 o'clock in the morning, so it had to have been stolen before then.
So within a relatively brief period
10
of time.
minutes.
10 minutes. And your car was severely damaged. You had
5,000.
insurance that paid for the damage with the exception of your deductible, which is $1,000. And you believe that the defendant, whose car had been stolen from his driveway, is responsible for paying your $1,000 deductible.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Okay, that's what this case is about. Now, you got it?
I got it.
Good. Now, you want to tell me why?
Mr. Schwartz, a total stranger to me, left his keys in his van and went to bed at night. This is an irresponsible act. I would never leave my keys in my car and go to bed at night. Mr. Schwartz and I also have the same insurance company, and attached to my insurance policy there's a little letter that says, in order to avoid loss or theft, here are some tips, things you can do to prevent that. And one of the things is do not leave your keys in your car. I believe his negligence caused me, a total stranger, to be out $1,000. And I brought my witness because she helped Mr. Schwartz search the neighborhood for his keys. He had thought that they took the keys when they left the van. They couldn't drive away because the van was still attached to my truck.
Just a second. When the police came to the scene, were their keys recovered from the van?
No.
Okay. When the van hit your car, did the thieves get out of the van?
My neighbor, Kathy, saw the whole thing, and she can explain what she saw.
Kathy, what's your last name?
McNamee.
Did you actually see the van hit the car?
Yes.
And what did you see next?
Well, I was in my home, and it was the morning of February the 18th, and it was approximately 6:10 in the morning. I was looking out the window and saw a van coming slowly up the street. Shortly after that, it had hit Marcia's truck, and immediately after it hit the truck, both the passenger and the driver's door opened up, and the criminals bailed out and took off running. And at that time, I called the police, and shortly after there, they arrived on the scene.
Now, Ms. Baird said something about you searching with the defendant for keys?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When Mr. Schwartz arrived on the scene, he was concerned. He had said to me that there were house keys on the keychain, and I had told him that I had seen the criminals bail out of the van and run, and I could walk off, as far as I could see the path that they ran in. I walked off with him and looked for the keys, but we were unsuccessful in finding them.
Okay. Now I'll hear you. You parked your car when?
The evening before I got home, and
At what time, Mr. Schwartz?
7 or 8. My daughter, who's 18 months old, was getting ill at the time in the back seat. So I ran around the vehicle to get her out because she was vomiting, and ran her into the house. And I'm not sure if I left them in the ignition or when I unbuckled her from the seat because she was in a child seat. And then after taking care of her, I forgot to go back out and get the keys because it wasn't on my mind. Then the next thing I know, I got a call at 6:15 that my vehicle had been in an accident.
How did you get into the house without your keys?
Garage door.
Okay.
Your Honor, there's something he
Just
said
a minute,
that-
just wait a second. He's not finished yet. Don't interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay, and the police came to my house and they said my vehicle was in an accident. I immediately got dressed, went to the accident scene, met them. You know, I did search for my keys there. I know she's a victim, but I think there's two victims here. I did not ask these people to steal my vehicle. You know, if someone wants to steal something, they're going to get it no matter what. I, too, lost big time in this because they totaled my van. The insurance company didn't pay for it because they said I did not give them permission to drive the van, whatever that meant. And that's why they didn't pay her deductible. And I got a whopping $25 for the van after it was released from the impound. And I have pictures that it was a nice vehicle.
Your Honor, there's something he said that isn't the same as what he told me when he came down to look at the vehicles. He told me that he left his keys in the van because he lives on the top of a hill, you know, and not next to a bunch of houses or right on the street, and that he thought that nobody would come up the drive. So it isn't like, I never heard about a vomiting daughter. It was more like, oh, I do this. This isn't the first time I've done this. I do it because I sit on the top of a hill and I don't think anybody will come up.
Ms. Baird, when I read your papers, I was trying to think of an analogy for you. While it's always smarter to take your keys out of your car and lock your car, I mean, that's a smart thing to do. There are some people who leave their doors open in their car because they would prefer that if somebody wanted to get into their car, they not break a window. They just are able to open the door. I mean, I've heard that rationale, especially people who have convertibles. They say, they want to get into my car to steal something that's in the car. I would rather have them not slash the convertible top. I'd rather them just be able to open the door.
But that
it's
wasn't...
usually smarter, however, smarter, not the law, to take your keys from your vehicle, right?
His rationale was not what you just said, though. I understand that rationale of people saying, I don't want him to break in, so...
Just a second. No, I'm getting someplace with you. Let us say you live in an area where you don't lock your house. And most people, when they go to bed, go in, lock the door because they want to be protected as best they can when they're in the house. But there are some people who live in either a rural area or live in an area that's relatively crime-free that say, I'm going to leave my front door open. Let's say a burglar comes into your house, takes a bunch of things, and among the things that the burglar takes is a large kitchen knife. And as they're coming out, one of the neighbors comes across and says, what are you doing? And they take the kitchen knife and they stab them. Are you responsible because you left your door open? Are you responsible because you left your door open? But for the fact that you left your door open, this burglar would not have gone into your house, taken the kitchen knife, and had a vehicle, a weapon to cause you injury.
I'm not sure that's a fair analogy because you're talking about personal injury versus monetary damage to a vehicle.
Oh, no, you're talking about the same theory. You're talking about somebody that hasn't done anything illegal. If he had done something illegal, that would be a different story.
It's illegal.
He did something that was perhaps imprudent, the same kind of imprudence that one would think you would be guilty of if you leave your house open. But do you think that the victim of that stabbing could turn around and sue the homeowner? But for the homeowner's action and leaving his door open, which is really your theory, but for Mr. Schwartz's action in leaving his keys in the car, the thieves might not have taken his car, because certainly if they're car thieves, they know how to hotwire a car. If that's his car they wanted, and if it was a deserted area, they might have hotwired his car. But for the fact that the front door is open, burglar wouldn't have gone inside? Probably not. Would have picked the lock. But your theory is, but for his negligent action, the thieves would not have had the vehicle to cause you property injury. But the law says that there is an intervening act, Ms. Baird.
I personally would never leave my keys in my car and go to bed at night, nor would I leave my door open when I went to bed at night.
Absolutely right. But the theory of your case is, but for his actions, the property injury would not have happened. But the intervening criminal act over which he has no control, I believe, negates any possibility for you to recover your $1,000 deductible.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
We do not know that these criminals were professional car thieves that know how to hotwire a car. They never arrested these people. They couldn't get good fingerprints. We don't know who they were.
Absolutely
It could have been kids who have no knowledge of how to hotwire a car.
You're absolutely right.
And were looking for a car with keys in it and found one. And that's the only reason they were able to take that car and come down and crash into my truck and cause me, a total stranger, to be out $1,000, which I cannot afford. I'm behind on my car payments because I can't afford that $1,000.
I understand that. But that does not mean that both of you are not victims of a crime. He may have exposed himself by allowing his keys to be in the car, but I might add that his keys were not found in the ignition, and it really is very odd to me, quite frankly, that once this crash took place, that the people who took the car stopped even a second to turn off the engine, pull out the keys before they ran out. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. There were certainly no keys found in the ignition. So what I'm telling you, Ms. Baird, is that's why they have funds for victims of crime. You were a crime victim. He was a crime victim. It wasn't smart that he left his keys in the car, but we honestly don't even know whether the fact that he left the keys in the car aided and abetted these car thieves.
Is there another avenue for a victim to go through to recover from their loss?
Well, there are crime victims' compensation boards to compensate monetarily victims of crime who've suffered a financial loss. Might you use that as a way of getting back your $1,000? Absolutely. But I just want to take a quick look at the pictures of the cars before I send you on your way.
Okay, I don't have pictures.
They totaled your van?
Yes.
Looks perfectly fine to me. Okay, the Crime Victims Compensation Board is a possibility, Miss Baird. Mr. Schwartz is not. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's how I thought it would come out.
I'm totally surprised. I thought she would rule in my favor.
I was a victim, too.
He committed an act. He deserves what he gets. I did nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Woodall versus Rogers. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student service advisor Kayla Woodall is suing her former roommate, Sarah Rogers, for her share of an apartment lease and utility bills.
You two young ladies were friends, and you decided it was time to leave your parents' home and strike out on your own, so you rented an apartment together.
Yes.
How old are you?
20.
And you?
20.
How long had you been friends?
4 years, give or take.
And when did you move in?
July 5th, 2000.
Okay, and was it a year lease?
Yes.
And then there was trouble in paradise.
Yes.
Things didn't work out. Miss Rogers moved out.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kayla Woodall says former roommate Sarah Rogers owes for half an apartment lease. Sarah says she's already forfeited her share of the security deposit.
Okay. The thrust of your lawsuit is you want her to be responsible for the remainder of the lease after she moved out.
Correct.
When did she move out?
January 15th.
All right, so tell me under what circumstances she moved out.
Her and I had discussed a lot of times in the 6-month period about her paying rent and bills late and me having to track her down and find her when the due dates came about. So there'd been maybe 2 or 3 discussions about one of us needing to either move out or get on the ball with what was going on. We didn't really ever set a date or a time or a place on when this was going to happen. There was a lot of delaying, and I came home from work one day, and she had moved all of her belongings out of the house.
Well, what happened in the couple of days before that?
She said that her and her witness actually were looking for a place to live, and that, you know, hopefully something would be going through with it soon.
Okay, what did you say to her?
I said, you know, well, if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. You know, you do have a lease here, but it doesn't seem like you're really paying the bills like you should be, and if you're not going to be able to pay them, you're not going to do me much use. It's like dead weight. So I either need you to pay them or...
Move.
Right.
So that's what you did?
That's what she did.
Go ahead.
Well, I did move out on January 13th after we had made a mutual agreement that I would move out.
Tell me about that agreement.
We agreed that I would move out on the 15th because we were not getting along. I was paying my bills. They were not on time most of the time, but they were paid. basically the agreement was that I was going to be moving out on the 15th. I moved out 2 days before. I paid the whole month's rent for the month of January.
Did you both put down security deposit on the apartment?
Yes.
How much?
Mine was, I think, $450.
Did you get that back?
No. I have forfeited my security deposit in order to be gone from the apartment.
What do you mean you forfeited it? Who did you forfeit it with? Her or the landlord?
The property management.
Did you sign off on with the property manager?
I wrote them a letter when I moved out saying that they could keep my security and I was not going to be living at the address anymore.
Well, they don't get to keep your security. The security, if the apartment's in good condition, is going to go back to the people who leased the apartment. In that case, you will get her portion of the security deposit back.
It was $400 deposit, $200 from each of us.
So you didn't put down $450, you put down $200?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Did your boyfriend move into the apartment?
He is kind of living there. We are not really trying to live together.
Miss Woodall.
I haven't had many options of people to move in with me.
Miss Woodall?
Yes.
When did your boyfriend bring his toothbrush after the 15th of January?
About a half a month ago. He's moved in, but has not taken full financial responsibility.
That's your problem.
That may be.
Good. So what are we doing here? I believe that there was an agreement that she move out, because even according to you, Miss Woodall, you said, look, one of us has to move. She said she'll move out. Clearly, there was an agreement that she moved out.
It wasn't really that simple. In order for us to get this apartment, the one-year lease, one of our parents had to co-sign. My father opted to do so. So it was only natural for her to move out versus me. This was not something I wanted. I did not want her to move out.
Fine, so it was natural for her to move out if you weren't getting along rather than you, because your father was the guarantor on the lease.
Right.
Well, why don't you have your father have a little discussion with your boyfriend?
Well, because it's not his responsibility.
No, it's yours. It's yours.
You're right.
If you moved in a boyfriend who's not paying his fair share, instead of looking for another roommate who might pay their fair share, that's not her fault.
I didn't say I moved him in. He has stayed even when she was living there. You know, he sleeps.
You just told me he moved in. You just told me 2 seconds ago, Miss Woodall, that he moved in, but he did.
Of the time since she's moved out.
You just told me he moved in, but he hasn't taken on the financial responsibility. Those were your exact words.
Right.
That's not her fault. That's your fault.
I'm not trying to blame her for that.
So?
I'm looking for compensation. She's left me in a financial hardship.
I understand your financial hardship. Your financial hardship would be ameliorated if you found yourself a roommate who would pay half of the rent. She's not going to pay half the rent. Forget that. What other bills does she owe you?
I have PG&E and SMUD here.
How much do all those bills total?
$280. It may be $230. I'm doing the math in my head.
Just about the same amount as her security deposit.
Yes, it's close to.
Perfect. So make sure you and your boyfriend keep the apartment in good shape so that when you move out, you're going to keep the security deposit, her half.
Okay.
Perfect. Case is over. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Comfy?
Yes, I am now.
Okay. Yeah, this is case number 560 on the calendar in the matter of Selb versus Selb. Stampter. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Selb.
Yes.
You were married to the defendant's father, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
For 7 years.
Almost 7 years, yes, ma'am.
He died.
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that the defendants agreed to reimburse you for the costs of cremating your husband.
Yes, ma'am.
They say that there was never such an agreement. When did your husband pass away?
I cannot hear you.
When did your husband pass away?
He passed away of October 6th last year.
Was his passing away sudden?
No, ma'am.
He had been ill for a period of time?
Only my son was there.
Okay, let's try it on this side. Was your father ill for a long time?
I would say yes.
What do you mean you would say yes?
He had open heart surgery in 1994, and among many other illnesses, and I don't think he ever recuperated, if that's
from
what you
his
mean.
open heart surgery.
Right.
Were you notified as soon as he passed away?
He passed away at 2 o'clock in the morning, and Natalie called me the next, early, about 8:30 the next morning.
Was he home or was he in the hospital?
He was in the hospital.
How long had he been in the hospital?
It was
2 days prior.
to his passing.
She called you 2 days before. Did you go to see him?
No.
She told us not to.
She told us not to bother coming up there.
She has no right to do that. And if she did, I would assume that you would just disregard that and go and see your father anyway.
She requested us that we did not come up there.
Then you disregard that request and you go see your father.
She said that he was not, there was no plans for actually that he was going to survive the evening.
Even more reason for you to get there. Did you see your father regularly?
A few times a year.
And you?
Natalie made it very difficult for us to see our father. She called me in 1998 and told me that I was never welcome in her home again. So my visits with my father had to be over the phone. I was not welcome in her home.
All right, Miss Selb, would you tell me the conversation that you allegedly had with these children about their reimbursing you for the cost of your husband's cremation?
On October 21st, they came over to pick up some of my husband's heirlooms. They also want to have the ashes. I told Tina that I have paid $1,200 for it, and she said she will reimburse the money. All I have to do is just send the bill.
I never said that.
I have sent the bill with a letter. I didn't hear anything from her.
Just a minute. At that time, did you give her the ashes?
Yes, they took the ashes when they left.
Was there any funeral service for your husband?
No, there was just at the park, you know, people have got together and had dinner and stuff like that. And I have asked them, but they didn't want to come.
But they came to the house to pick up some property, is that right?
Yes.
That's correct.
And you picked up your father's ashes?
Yes.
Tell me under what circumstances this lady gave you the ashes?
We went up to get my dad's war mementos and our family photo albums, all that was left of that my father had. And there was never a discussion about taking the ashes home. I mean, that wasn't why we went up there.
Okay.
She presented a carton as we were leaving of his ashes, and we were both very surprised by that. There was never a discussion about reimbursing for ashes or giving her money for the cremation, and then we can exchange, you know, pay this ransom for my father's ashes, and we could leave with it. Never a discussion about that. The ashes were there. She presented it to us along with a copy of what appears to be his will, and we left. That was that.
Miss Selb, why did you give them your husband's ashes?
Why did I do what?
Why did you give them your husband's ashes?
Because Doug asked for it.
Because they asked for it?
Yes.
And you had no problem with that?
Well, I mean, I didn't want to divide it, ma'am. You know, so I said, okay, you go ahead and take it. Because Tina told me that she's going to reverse the money.
Well, when you decided to have him cremated, you didn't speak to her with regard to the costs. Is that right?
She told me also that whatever I do is okay with her, and she also talked to my son.
That's not true.
At the hospital.
That's absolutely not true.
At the where?
At the hospital. When my husband was in the hospital, she called. My son was in the hospital when she called when my husband was sick.
Step up. Tell me. Not proper court attire.
Sorry.
So you should have something important to say. I assume you do.
Basically, I was there when he went into the hospital and when he died.
And when did you have a conversation with Tina?
I had conversations with them each of them at least twice.
Go ahead, let me hear about the conversation.
You know, they were asking what was going on with their father and, you know, what do the doctors think? And I said they don't really know. They pretty much think he's going to die or they're not going to do much about it. And then they told me that they weren't able to get up there, so we went in the next morning and made arrangements to have him cremated. They left it in the hands of my mother to take care of.
Were there any death benefits under Social Security?
I believe the $225 that they give for when somebody dies, Social Security, that was about it. And then
$225 for burial costs?
yeah, that's what the Social Security system will pay.
Okay, well, that's $225.
Correct.
Even that, your lawsuit is $1,200, which is the entire cost of cremation, right?
Yes.
Is there a will?
Your Honor, my father had an estate when he married Natalie. And I have here a record of every single thing that my father had and things that show, as far as I'm concerned, that he had an estate that more than paid for funeral
plus
expenses.
his wishes to be buried.
He wanted
whole.
to be buried whole next to my mother, who died in 1983. He already had a plot. He already had his wishes known. She knew them. She and I discussed this. When he died, she knew that we did not want him cremated and that he didn't want to be cremated.
How long was he married to your mother?
37 years.
When did she pass away?
1983. I hired Natalie to be his housekeeper.
I think an important point.
Go ahead.
I think an important point is that when my father was ill, we hired Natalie, my sister actually hired Natalie to take care of him. And in a 6-week period, they were married, and she produced a license with his name on it. And
her license.
with her name on it, and my father's name. And at that point, a bank that had all his funds and monies called us up, my sister, which was the power of attorney at the time, and said, there's something funny going on. This woman is here, and she's liquidating
Closing all of his accounts.
Closing all of his accounts, getting all the funds out of his accounts. At that point, we contacted my father, and that's when he said, well, we just happened to get married.
Okay. Miss Sell, after you married Mr. Sell,
Yes.
were you working anyplace else?
Before I started working for him?
For the last 7 years, since you were married to their father, you didn't work at all outside the home?
That was a full-time job with Mr. Selb.
Fine. So you didn't work at all outside the home?
No, ma'am.
Is that right? How were you supported?
We lived on his retirement and my Social Security.
How much was your Social Security?
My Social Security, $472.
And how much was his pension?
His pension was $1,200, something like that.
And how much was his Social Security?
5 something.
So you had Social Security of $400, and he had about $1,700 a month. Is that right?
Right, ma'am.
Okay. And he had savings as well. Is that right?
Yes.
Of course. Where are his savings?
The savings?
Yeah.
We spent most of it.
Do you have any left?
We have traveled quite a bit, ma'am.
Oh, just a minute. Do you have any left of his savings?
Yeah, I have $2,000.
Good. That pays for the funeral. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The only thing I can say that I took care of their father for 7 years.
My sister went there a couple of weeks afterwards, and she found the mail actually had been sorted through and gone through, his financial statements gone through.
They wouldn't even answer the letters I have sent it to them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Langlois, step forward.
51-year-old office manager Vicki Langlois is suing her ex-husband, 36-year-old operations manager Jim Langlois, for medical expenses for the family dog.
Miss Langlois, you and the defendant were married for 13 years. You were divorced officially, I believe, according to what I've read, in 1999.
Correct.
There was a dog.
Jim's dog.
Well, you say it was Jim's dog. There was a dog that lived in your house for a long time. The dog remained in your home. The dog became ill. You took the dog to the vet.
Correct.
There was substantial expenses for the dog in the amount of $1,817. The dog was ultimately put to sleep.
Yes.
And you want the defendant to pay those veterinarian bills.
Correct.
Okay, so I will hear you on why you think he is responsible for those bills.
When he left in March of '99, he moved into a studio apartment where there was no pets allowed. I was left with the dog to care for it. Then, March of 2000, the dog became ill. I talked to Jim, and I explained to him everything that happened. He didn't disagree with how I handled it. I told him I would not be able to pay the bills, and he said that was okay, and he'd take care of it. So I had brought the dog home with the understanding that I would have to give the dog intravenous feedings twice a day, which I did until April 25th, when he suddenly turned worse. I called Jim. I told him he wanted to see the dog. I brought the dog to him, and he returned the dog to me, and the next day the dog even got worse. I called the vet. She said there's nothing more we can do for him.
How old was the dog?
12 years. And
how old is your son?
12.
So that the dog had been your son's companion as well.
Yeah, his best friend.
Okay, go ahead.
And so Thursday night, the 27th, I believe it was, I called Jim at work. When I tried to discuss what was going on with the dog, he just wanted to talk about the divorce and all the other property issues that were going on. And he got abusive, and he wasn't even listening to me. I was telling him that Saturday morning was the appointment, and he got abusive and was swearing at me, and I hung up the phone. On Saturday morning, my daughter Kendra took me and our 12-year-old son to the vet, and we sat there with him while the dog was put down. Later, I talked to Jim about the money, and he said we would have to discuss it at the divorce hearing in June. When we got to the divorce hearing, his attorney asked that the two attorneys could talk outside of the courtroom and discuss some of the issues.
The outstanding financial issues.
Right, and the dog was one of them. My attorney said that Jim was denying it was his dog, and that I shouldn't waste $250 an hour. I should take it to of his time. I should take it to small claims court, and that's what I did.
It is clear to me, Mrs. Langlos, that your 12-year-old son would have been devastated had his father left the house, and in addition to leaving the house, taken his dog. According to you, the dog was his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that you were dog sitting for the defendant's dog. You kept the dog because it was the family dog. Whoever purchased it, paid for it. I have a dog. When she's a very, very good dog, my husband says it's his dog. When it poops in the house, it's my dog. The issue of whose dog it is not relevant to this. Your former wife claims that you indicated to her that you would, at one point, take care of the veterinary bills. Let us assume for the moment that you did say to her, I'll take care of it, whatever the bills are. And I don't even have to make a judgment on that. There did come a time that you went to the Supreme Court to resolve all issues of money involving your marriage. According to you, Ms. Langlos, the issue of the dog's bills was raised by the attorneys in that proceeding.
Outside of the judge.
It doesn't make any difference.
Correct.
It was part of the negotiation. You did the right thing by keeping the dog and taking care of the dog. Your problem, Mrs. Langlos, is this. There must be finality when parties divorce. And that is usually as of the day that a final judgment of divorce is rendered. Everybody is there, and they throw all the marbles on the table, and they say, listen, this is what we got. This is what our bills are. This is what our expenses are. This is what our assets are. We're going to divide them. We're going to divide them in an equitable fashion, and that's what you pay a lawyer for. That was clearly done. So all of that was before the court, or should have been before the court. Now, you understand that, Mrs. Langlos. I know that from the way you're shaking your head, you understand that. Because ultimately, each of you has to know, this is the date that my financial obligations are fixed, both for child support, for maintenance, for alimony, for outstanding credit cards, for outstanding bank loans. You can't keep this thing going forever. It's not healthy.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
According to you, and I'm just taking what you tell me, your attorney did in fact raise the issue at that time. You were given bad advice by your attorney. If your attorney did indeed say to you, deal with it later, that's very bad advice, because your marriage terminated and these bills were incurred prior to the stipulation and settlement and the judgment of divorce. Unless your former husband believes that you should voluntarily contribute to the dog's vet bills, he is under no legal obligation to do so. Just for my own sake, you want to tell me, Mr. Langlos, how much you pay in child support for your son?
I believe it's $961 a month.
Do you pay maintenance to your former wife, in addition to the child support?
Yes.
And how much do you pay in maintenance?
1,000 something.
It's a little over 1,000, 1,027.
Are you currently current in your child support and maintenance?
Yes, my child support and spousal support comes directly out of my work check.
Do you see your son? Visit him?
Not now, I don't.
Why not?
We have issues that we're working out through court right now.
So there are ongoing issues of visitation? So you're still paying lawyers?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes.
I am. She's not. She doesn't have a lawyer at this time. I do.
Well, that's unfortunate.
No, that's not true. I do have a lawyer.
Yeah. Okay. Whether you have
But
a
yes,
lawyer,
we are.
I have his letter that says
whether you
he's-
have a lawyer or not, it's really unfortunate that you can't put a period and start having some sort of normalcy to your lives. That's really very unfortunate.
Fair.
In any event, Ms. Langlos, all financial issues were resolved in your case in June of 2000, so your lawsuit is dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 264.
In the early part of 1997, it was a personal loan. It was for $2,700.
For what?
He expressed that he was having some financial difficulties, housing and supporting my grandson. He repaid me $1,000 of that because he got his income tax return.
Okay. What else?
In 1998, my girlfriend went to an auction. Richard needed a sofa. The sofa was $242. I advanced him a personal loan of $300.
For what?
I don't know. He just asked me to lend him the money. We went to Vegas, and I lent him $100.
For what?
To gamble with.
How come you kept lending him this money? He wasn't paying you back regularly, so why would you lend him money to gamble?
Because he looked so dejected when we were in Vegas, so I just felt sorry for him.
Well, you felt sorry for him. Did you give him the $100, or did he say to you, could I please have $100 and I'll pay you back?
I offered to lend. I asked him, did he want a loan? And I said, you would have to pay it back. And he said yes.
No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Go ahead. What's
Okay.
next?
Then this time I had put him on a payment plan of $100. He made payments from August to December in $100 increments that came to $500. In April, he came in my house. He gave me $150 and told me that he had other kids and that he had quit his 2 jobs because he was being sued for child support and that he could no longer pay me.
Richard.
Yes, ma'am.
Got a couple of questions to ask you, sir.
Okay.
It appears from your answer that there was a period of time when you had full custody of your son.
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
From 97 to 99 of September.
1997 to September of 99.
Yes, ma'am. And I can recall the date in January of 97 due to the fact that she called me at work saying that if you feel if I'm a better parent, we'll pick my son up. So
The court papers can be subpoenaed that says that Richard has custody of Ryan from Thursday to Sunday, and my daughter had him the rest of the time.
You have those papers?
according to Marianne, she knows definitely for a fact that I had my son from 97 to 99.
Put your hand down.
I also know that he
Put your hand down. When I need you, I'll call you.
It's like this. When her daughter found a boyfriend, she wasn't going to be my son's mother anymore. She knows that for a fact.
I think that that's probably true. I think that Miss Murphy knew that there was a period of time when your son really needed you to be either a full-time custodian or there a good deal of the time. Isn't that right, Miss Murphy?
He was a very good father, and I give him, my hat goes off to him.
Right. Now, what I assume happened at some point, you met your new wife. Are you married now?
No,
You have a
fiancé.
girl. You have a fiance.
Yes, ma'am.
With whom you have children.
Yes, I have 2 boys, yes.
With your fiance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're not quite ready to make a commitment to get married. Is
Right
that the
now, we're
idea?
trying to
Just
get-
the children are okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a fiance and you have 2 little children and things get kind of busy. Your son is with his mother more often than he's with you. She's taking you now to court for child support. You haven't paid child support in a while.
I'm not working at all, so therefore, certain people have told me that I don't have to pay child support if I don't have it. I'm only collecting disability.
What is the nature of your disability?
Right now,
You can't even say it with a straight face. Try saying it with a straight face, how you're disabled. Try telling me how somebody who's how tall? 6 foot tall?
6 foot tall.
Standing in front of me.
Ma'am.
What?
I'm a donor patient for my brother who has a kidney disease, so I have high blood pressure. So right now, I'm basically just relaxing, trying to keep my blood pressure down.
Everybody who has high blood pressure stops working. Half the country would be unemployed.
But I can't give a kidney if I have high blood pressure.
How long have you been preparing yourself to be a donor?
I've been preparing myself for the past month and a half.
And how long have you been unemployed?
Since April. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to say after June.
Were you paying any child support before
The
June?
last time I made child support payment was $300, $360 for whatever reason they needed.
When?
June of 2000.
Somebody who's got such high blood pressure shouldn't strain themselves and have all these children.
It ain't about the children, ma'am. It's about the people around me. And if it
Children
wasn't for her
create. Listen to
daughter
me.
and
No, no,
her,
no, no, no.
I'll be all
Mr.
right.
Hart, making babies makes your heart go faster, right?
Yeah. It does.
Maybe you should stop straining yourself. Mr. Hart, look, you were making payments to Miss Murphy over a long period of time.
I was helping her out due to the fact she helped me out.
Just a second, sir. You were making payments to her in the amount of $100 a month.
No.
You're in between a rock and a hard place, sir. If you say you weren't making payments to her, you're not going to get credit for any of those payments.
Well, I would say it wasn't a month. I was giving her whatever I had due to the fact she helped me out when I had my son.
I mean, she's lying about that?
Oh, it's a lot of things she was lying about.
Yes, I'll hear you.
I have no reason to stand up here and lie. I have a detailed journal of everything, all the accounting on this.
Let me see. Let me take a look at it. Just a second.
I extracted this information from the tape. But more importantly, my daughter owes me money, and I have the same tape on her.
Your Honor, she failed to realize to tell what the $2,700 she gave me for, the circumstances why the $2,700 was given.
Tell me about it.
I didn't ask for the $2,700. I picked my son up from school one day, and he had a lot of bruises on his buttocks and his legs. And I didn't know what to do. So therefore, I took him over to Miss Murphy, and she told me, well, this is what you need to do.
Would you please just explain to me what the $2,700
It was for the
for?
attorney fees.
Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. He has conjured up lies and had other people call my daughter's house, leaving threatening messages, and have alluded to me giving him money. When I lent him the money, I had no idea what it was for. I didn't ask. My concern is that you pay it back to me.
Your Honor, why was the attorney fees $2,700? Why did she exactly give me $2,700?
Let me see the bill for $2,700 from the attorney.
I don't have everything, but this is...
I just told you, I don't
Here you
need
go, right
everything.
here.
The base,
The
most
the
of this money that
Okay.
she claims that you owe is, according to you, the attorney's fees.
Yes, ma'am.
This says balance as of 10/13, $1,034.
Let me find this other letter, ma'am, so I can show you that they gave me actually back, after the case was over, they gave me $700 back, but I don't have that form with me at this time.
I want to see where the original bill was for $2,700, the retainer.
No, they asked for a retaining fee of $2,700.
Show me.
Okay, ma'am, okay, relax. I don't have that at this time, Your Honor. I had a letter showing that this is what they gave me back. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry.
At the time that this happened back in 1997, you saw bruises on the child's body. I
Yes, ma'am.
assume that you were infuriated. Is that right?
I made a police report. A DCFS came out of the house, did an investigation on me. They also did investigation on the school.
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
You needed money for an attorney. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't have the money right then and there to
I
give
didn't
to
have
the
all
lawyer.
of it, no, ma'am.
Good. And there is nothing that you can show me where you paid this lawyer a retainer of $2,700.
Not at this time. You can see
Right,
that
because
list
all
right
this
there.
other stuff you gave me says nothing about $2,700.
Well, if I had it, I would sure give it to you.
Because what it shows is that there are different amounts that you paid off different amounts at different times, not $2,700 at one fell swoop.
Well, actually, it should, I don't. I wish I had.
Actually.
I don't have that. No.
Of course you don't have it because, sir, let me explain something
Because I
to you.
wasn't prepared to bring that information in court, sir. But
Well,
if we,
Mr. Hart, I don't know why you weren't prepared to do that, sir, because that is your answer, that you used this $2,700 for an attorney. So it would seem to me, with all the other paperwork that you brought, you would have brought that one document showing you took the $2,700 from the plaintiff and you paid the attorney with it. That's the one document that I would have.
Yeah, that's one document I wish I had.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,538. And let me tell you what I'm taking off.
Okay.
Taking off the $100 you were foolish enough to give him to gamble.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excused. You may step out.
Ellen Doyle is suing her ex-boyfriend, Matthew Peterson, for a loan to fix his teeth. Matthew says he helped Carolyn fix her house.
Miss Doyle, you used to live with this gentleman. How long did you live with him?
Matthew and I started dating July 4th of 1999, and he lived with myself and my children off and on for a total of about 2 years. 1 year, then moved out, then moved back in for a year, then moved back out.
And during that time, which we'll pinpoint better later, you claim that without your authorization, he forged your name as a co-signer to a loan for some dental work that he wanted.
I don't know if he ever signed my name. He did open an account and took out a dental loan using my Social Security number, and it shows up on my credit record as
Okay, but you never signed it.
No, I did not.
Well, so somebody signed your name to it.
I never saw the document, Your Honor. Okay.
I assume he has the document somewhere in his pocket. In any event, he didn't pay the loan?
Correct.
And it's negatively impacted on your credit?
Correct.
You no longer are together, and you want him to pay the bill?
Correct.
Smile pretty, Mr. Peterson. What was wrong with your teeth?
2 porcelain crowns in my front teeth, and both of them were fractured. And
So it was cosmetic work.
more or less, without them, though, I just have 2 posts there,
Not attractive, but clearly you can live that way.
I suppose.
Now, when did you want to replace these 2 porcelain crowns?
I was living with it cracked for probably about a year or so, and then in the process of chewing gum, it completely broke off one afternoon, and I was left with just the post that goes under the crown, my real tooth, and it was somewhat of an emergency at that point. You know, the following morning, the dentist squeezed me in, and
Now, were you and Miss Doyle living together at the time?
no.
Were you still seeing each other
Yes.
exclusively?
Yes.
Any reason why you weren't living together?
We lived together when I owned my condo, and I wanted to flip that into a single-family home because I have 3 kids, and I wanted him to have a nice home with a backyard and a neighborhood, and he didn't agree with my decision to sell the condo. I was buying it on my own. He wasn't buying it with me, but he disagreed with my decision to sell the condo and buy the house. So when I sold...
just my own curiosity, why?
I think he thought things were fine the way they were, and so why move?
Okay, so that's when he moved out, but you still continued to see each other.
Correct.
So now the dentist squeezes you in August.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm listening.
Okay, I went to the dentist's office in the morning upon looking at the other front tooth that was fractured as well, so they said, we have to take care of both of them. I couldn't cover it on such short notice, so they said, well, you can go ahead and apply for this in-house credit we have here, which I did, was denied. They said, do you have a co-signer? At that point, I called Carolyn from the office, and she said, yeah, here's my number, here's the Social Security number, and I'll be back. You know, I'll have to go down there and actually sign the document at a later date, which I don't know if that ever happened or not. And they proceeded with the work, and that was it.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
I was making monthly payments.
Now you're looking at your shoes.
I made the first couple payments, and then I came late on one. She said, I can't have this affecting my credit with you making late payments. And then she said, let me just pay off the whole loan and you can just pay me. And then when we ultimately ended up breaking up, walked out, and that was the end of that. And I had done considerable amounts of work on her house, remodeling, fixing it up,
Which
paintings.
I paid him for.
Just a second. Please don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
And I just kind of figured the whole thing was a wash. It was easier just to get out of each other's lives and move on.
So you mean you stuck Miss Doyle, who is a single parent, raising 3 children, with bills for your cosmetic dentistry? I mean, you expect me to accept that, sir? And you think that I am not going to humiliate you in front of 10 million people? Go ahead.
Upon our last conversation when I left, I was served with papers days later, so there was never any opportunity to discuss any kind of payment plan. She never asked me for the money.
Why should she have to ask you for anything? How old are you?
32.
You work?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
No.
So whatever work you do, you just manage to take care of yourself,
Correct.
right? Now, what about Miss Doyle? Does she work?
Yes, she does.
And she takes care of 3 children?
Yes, she does.
And she runs a house? Let me ask you a question. When you were living in the house, did she have household help?
No, myself.
Did she have, yeah, I know how helpful you are. Did she have household help?
No,
Who did the laundry?
she did.
Who cleaned the bathrooms?
She did.
Who had a full-time job?
She did.
Who had 3 children?
She does.
Who had 2 cracked porcelain crowns?
That's me.
Are you embarrassed?
When you lay it out like that, yes, I am. But
Well, if your mother didn't lay it out for you like that, I'm going to lay it out for you like that. How much was your dental work?
all said and done, approximately $2,700.
How much of that did you pay?
About $300.
What kind of car do you drive?
Ford truck,
What year?
2000.
Were you making payments on it in 2004?
Yes.
Were you paying rent in 2004?
Yes.
You get where I'm going?
Yes, I do.
Peterson. Anything else you want to say?
I'd like to add just the extent of the work I did around her house. It was a verbal agreement.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Peterson. I just asked you a few questions. When you were living together, did you take a shower?
Yes,
Who cleaned the bathroom?
she did.
When you were living together, did you change your underwear at least every other day?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did the laundry?
She did.
You get
not
my,
exclusively.
You get my drift?
I get your drift.
I won't even go into other more intimate details, sir, but I can almost guarantee you this. Believe me, you got the better end of the bargain. She knows what I mean. So do most of the other women. You owe her $2,400. Pay it. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 202 on the calendar in the matter of Villa versus Vasquez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Villa, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct.
And some time ago, she needed a car. You agreed to take out a loan in your name.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What kind of car did she buy?
It was a 99 volts Jetta.
How much was the loan?
For $11,809, I believe.
So that was very nice of your sister. When did she take out the loan for you?
In 2003 of June.
And you made the payments on the loan?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Until when?
Until March of 2005.
What happened in March of 2005?
I lost my job, and I was fighting an appeal for unemployment, and so I couldn't make the payments after in April and May.
That's what your lawsuit wants?
Yes.
April and May's car payment, as well as a substantial amount of money because you claimed that your sister abandoned the car and destroyed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Caused a lot of damage to the car. Cost you $2,000 to put the car back into shape. You are now driving the car and paying it off.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You acknowledge that you didn't make April and May's car payment?
Yes, ma'am.
So you acknowledge that you owe that to your sister because somebody had to make it?
No, ma'am. What happened was I didn't have money to pay April and May, and she said that she would either try to help me or that if she couldn't help me in any way, then to go ahead and take the tires, because I kept telling her, what about my rims? And she said, if I can't help you, if you can't make the payment, then fork it. You know, I don't have money, and she said, I don't have money or anything, so go ahead and take the rims off.
Miss Vasquez, somebody paid April and May's car payment. It was not you.
Well, Your Honor, what happened was she didn't pay the April and May payment. Actually, she told me that the bank had reported the car stolen. So I lived with my mom.
Somebody has now made April and May's car payment if she's driving the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Who had the car in April?
I had the car in April.
Who had the car in May?
I did, ma'am. But
Just
I
a
also...
second. Listen to me. If you had the car in April and drove it, and you had the car in May and drove it, why should anybody else make the car payment for you? That was not your agreement with your sister.
Right, ma'am, but see, what happened was we were waiting for an appeal to go through for my unemployment so I can pay those payments.
I don't give a rat's behind about your appeal for unemployment. I asked you a very simple question. The very simple question was, if you drove the car in April and you drove the car in May, who should pay for the car?
Well, I should have paid for the car.
That's the answer. You drove it. You pay for it.
Well, now she's driving the car, so...
She's not asking you for anything else.
But I put a down payment on the vehicle, which was $800.
In 2003?
Yes, ma'am. But I already paid $6,000 on the vehicle.
How much a month did you pay for the car?
I paid $328 a month.
And how much do you think it would cost you to rent a car?
I have no idea, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a homemaker now, ma'am.
Who supports you?
Unemployment.
How many children do you support?
I support 2.
Do they live with you?
One of them does.
Where does the other one live?
With his dad.
And who else lives in your home?
My husband.
And what does he do for a living?
He's unemployed.
Why?
Because it's been hard for him to find a job because he doesn't have documents.
Well, so you always ask one question too many. Do you have documents?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Then you have to work.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Then your husband can stay home and take care of your baby.
That's what he did.
Good. But you both can't stay home?
Right. Now, well, I just
then stick your sister with your car payment, because if you're both not working, you don't even need a car. If you're sitting around doing nothing, then you don't need a car.
But we had made an agreement, because I had told her, we had made an agreement, me and her had made an agreement to where, because she knew that I couldn't make the payments, and she had agreed that she would wait for me to go to court and then go ahead and just pay the car payment even if it was late. We had made the agreement, me and her.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. Does not make any sense.
What do you do for a living, Miss Villa?
I'm a team manager for a well-known company.
And you have children?
I have 4.
You support them?
I do.
Do they live with you?
They do.
Anybody else live in your house other than your 4 children?
My husband.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a manager for a contracting company.
Makes a good living?
Yes, he does.
You own a home?
I own 2, ma'am.
Have mortgages?
Yes.
Have cars?
Yes.
Have car payments?
Yes.
See what I mean? That, Miss Vasquez, is the American dream.
Well, that's my American dream someday.
Do you understand? You can't stay home in your house,
right,
hoping the American dream will find you.
Right.
And you can't encumber anybody else with your problems.
I understand, ma'am, but I was fighting an appeal at the time, and that's
You
why...
already told me that 3 times. You don't visit that on your sister. Now, how much was each car payment?
They're $328 plus the late delinquency.
And what was the late fee?
I have a breakdown if you need that.
Yeah.
And then I have photos. I don't know if you need them, but they're the damages.
I want to see the damage that you allege to the car.
And the house that you see there in that photo is my defendant's witness's mom's house. So what a coincidence for that one.
You told us to leave the car there.
No. Be truthful. You just got
No.
sworn in.
Shh. Did you take the wheels off this car?
They're my tires. She told me that it was okay to do that,
The car was not given to her like that.
She told me days before that there was insurance on the vehicle before she was mad and angry and did all this. And she told me I had told her, well, Norma, I haven't went to court yet for my unemployment to pay.
No.
I'm being honest.
Listen, I want you to let her speak. Do you understand? Okay. And I don't want you to interrupt her again.
Okay.
Keep
and
going.
She told me that I told her to ask the bank if she can tell the bank that the money was, lost in the mail.
So you asked her,
yes,
to lie to the bank.
I asked her. Yes, ma'am.
That the check was in the mail.
Yes.
When it really wasn't in the mail.
Right.
So you lied. And you wanted her to lie.
And she did.
Just a second. And according to you, she lied for you.
She said that she was going to tell the bank that that it was lost in the mail, and by that time I should have my money to go, so I could go ahead and pay the payments with the late fee.
Okay, so you asked her to lie for you, and she did lie for you.
Right.
And then when it came time for you to send the money, you still didn't send it.
No, what happened was days after that, she said that the bank had reported the car stolen. And she called my mom. She wouldn't talk to me no more. She called my mom, and she told my mom the car was reported stolen. I would be taken out by gunpoint and to leave the car. So I lived with my mom. She could have went and picked up. She didn't have to do all this. She could have went and picked the car up at my mom's house. The car was never moved again until that she told my sister-in-law on the phone to leave it somewhere where the police can find it, which I don't understand. And she had told me way before all this happened to take the rims off if she couldn't make the payment. That's the honest truth, Your Honor. That now for the inside is not damaged. What happened is I've had that car for 2 years. I do have a daughter, and the inside of the vehicle, of course, is going to get dirty, but it's not demolished.
Just because you have a daughter doesn't mean that a car has to look like this.
Well, it's the interior, ma'am. It's the interior. When my daughter, sometimes she got car sick, she'd throw up, and we would clean it with, when you clean the car, it stains.
Well, then let me ask you a question. Who's supposed to take care of that now that you no longer have the car?
Well, I would...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's supposed to take care of it? The bank?
I am.
Right! There you go!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want you to get a copy of my book. It's a book that I wrote a long time ago. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. I'm trying to educate you. You won't let it happen.
And later today,
I decided not to see her anymore. And it was just shortly thereafter that she became very, very nasty, and she accused me of giving her an STD and that she was pregnant.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Norma Villa says her sister, Alicia Vasquez, owes for car payments, car repairs, and money loaned.
Now, my next question to you. Nothing is my responsibility. When you put new rims on the car, what did you do with the old ones?
The old rims stayed at the dealer where I got the tires at.
Well, that's your problem. Because if you put something new on the car that you wanted to take back, then it was your responsibility to put back the original ones.
But my sister told me to do that.
I don't believe you. She's a responsible, reliable person who has a job, and she has a husband who is employed, and she supports a household with 4 children, and she has 2 homes and 2 mortgages and car payments of her own, and she doesn't seem to be making excuses that not anything is my fault.
I'm not saying
nothing's my fault. Pay careful attention.
Yes, ma'am.
If you take out a radio and you put in a more expensive one, and then you have to send back the car to the company because you can't afford it, you don't leave it with no radio. You put back the original one. You don't leave it like this.
She told me to leave it like that.
I don't believe you.
She told me to leave the car on brakes and to take my rims off of it. Honest to truth. Tell
Makes
her.
sense.
Tell the truth.
Makes sense.
Tell the truth, sis.
No, just don't speak to each other. I don't believe that she said it to you. Even if she did say it to you, then, if you're a grown-up, you say, look, I've had this car for 2 years. If I can't get the wheels that were originally on the car, I'm just going to have to take the loss and leave the ones that are on the car, because somebody is going to be penalized for this. It's not going to be you, because your name isn't anywhere on the paperwork. It's got to be the person whose name is on the paperwork. That's her.
That's probably why she told me there was insurance on the car, and to do that.
Listen, I want you to get a copy of my book. It's a book that I wrote a long time ago. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. I'm trying to educate you.
Yes, ma'am.
You won't let it happen. When you do things in life, you're supposed to accept responsibility.
I accept the responsibility that I took the tires. Because no,
you accept responsibility that you took the tires, but you don't want to pay for it. That's the responsibility. You said, of course I took them.
Well, I did a down payment on the car. I put $800 in the car. She's driving the car. She's saying that it was demolished, that it didn't work. I mean,
Madam,
that doesn't make any sense.
Listen to me.
That should cover my $800.
When you buy a car, any car, new or used, as soon as you drive the car out of a showroom, it depreciates. Do you understand that? That requires a simple yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put $800 down on the car and you drove the car out of the showroom, you lost your $800. Do I make myself clear? Mm-hmm. You don't get that back. Your car didn't appreciate in value because your daughter vomited on the back seat. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now let's get to this $315 rent check.
She was in the process of getting evicted, and she needed money. She couldn't get any money from anywhere.
This is in April. This is when she stopped paying for the car as well, in April.
Correct.
Well, tell me about it.
I didn't want her to lose a roof over her head. And
Tell me about the conversation. Where did it take place?
She called me and asked me over the phone at work and asked me if I can please lend her the money. Her husband's going to get work or she's going to get unemployment or whatever the case is. Can I please lend her $315 so that she can pay the eviction so that they won't evict her?
Okay,
but
she acknowledges that you gave her that money. When did you pay her back?
In June when I got, I had to get on cash aid temporarily.
So you went on welfare?
Yes, because I had to move, Your Honor, to Santa Rosa.
Welfare gave you a lump sum check?
No, they gave me like a cash aid.
For how much?
It was like $380 something.
And you took that whole $300 and gave it to your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do for money?
I had to go stay with my mom temporarily, so the $80 that I had, that's in the food stamps that they had gave me.
Did she give you back the $300?
She didn't, Your Honor.
Of course not. It doesn't make sense that you got $380 from welfare, and after this major to-do that you had with your sister where you were annoyed with her about the car, and she said she may help you out with the payments, and you turned the car over to your sister, who was then very angry with you because the car was destroyed in the interior and didn't have any wheels at all and was up on blocks, that you paid her back the $300 that you owed her, saving only $80 for yourself. It doesn't make sense. You owe your sister $1,500. That's what you owe her reasonably to put the car back into condition and for this loan that you did not pay back. And I suggest that you and or your husband find some way of earning a living. You made a baby, you gotta get a job. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that she does want a career and she wants a life, but she needs to leave what she has to get there. I think she wants to see me downfall. That's why she's doing this to me. And I'm even willing to help her do that. I cannot believe my own family would do something like this to me because I love her. She's my sister. I love her, and may the Lord forgive her for what she does.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Van Druff versus Dodds. Step forward, please.
Carrie Van Druff is suing her ex-boyfriend, Brian Dodds, for money loaned when he fell on hard times. Brian says Carrie offered him the money.
Bert, I have a couple of questions for you. Would you say that 100 times as many women loan money to men in our experience as the other way around?
At least.
I don't understand why women are always loaning money to men. I don't get it. They're supposed to be bigger. They're supposed to be stronger. They're supposed to be the hunters. They're supposed to be king of the jungle. And they're always walking around with their hand out. What I still don't understand is, I've asked the women over and over again, why do you want to give this guy money? You know? And I'm not able to get an answer, but what I'm going to try to do from now on is to get the answers from men who look as if they're ordinary guys. Why did you take money from her, Mr. Dodds?
Your Honor, at the time, it was the case that I was very, very short.
Why were you short?
I went through a pretty nasty divorce, and my ex-wife was taking me to court about every other week, and my lawyer was just killing me. in fees. And at the time, I mean, it was coming up to Christmas time, everything. I was extremely short-handed of cash. That's all there is to it.
What do you mean it was coming up to Christmas? What does the time of year have to do with it?
I've got 2 daughters. I was really concerned how Christmas was going to turn out.
So you wanted to buy Christmas presents for your daughter, so you borrowed money?
No, that's not what happened, Your Honor. She knew that I was short of cash, and she just straight out just offered it, and I did refuse it, that no, I couldn't ask that of you. And she said, that's what friends do, and I'd like to do that for you. And it was with reluctance that I took it. I'm not one that likes to take handouts.
How long after that, Mr. Dodds, did you and the plaintiff stop seeing each other?
Maybe 2 months.
Was that a mutual decision or your decision?
It was my decision to stop seeing her.
Well, if it was your decision and you're a moral person, because clearly you were worried about your daughters coming up and not having Christmas presents in December, why didn't you start to pay her back?
Shortly after I told her that, we were going to stop seeing each other.
Did you tell her, or did you send her a letter?
I sent her an email, I believe, actually,
Sent her an
and I
email.
kind of explained to her.
That wasn't until February.
Go ahead.
And I explained to her why, decided not to see her anymore. And
right.
And it was just shortly thereafter that she became very, very nasty, and she accused me of giving her an STD and that she was pregnant. So it really concerned me. So I started going to different doctors, and I had some tests done to make sure that that was not the case. I was pretty concerned about that. So now I've got doctor bills that I have incurred because of her being spiteful or vindictive or whatever reason.
So in the email where you explained that you were breaking up with her, Mr. Dodds, did you say to her, and I know that I took some money from you, and I know it wasn't a loan at the time, but I consider it my moral obligation to give you the money back, so I'm going to start sending it to you. Was that included in your email?
I don't recall at the time.
Let's say no.
No.
Let's say it wasn't included in your email. Now, how do you think that that made her feel? She gets this email from you after she's given you this money because she was a good friend, and she insisted on helping you out so that your girls would have a Christmas. And then you send her this Dear John email, because we're living in the 21st century. And the email has nothing to do with her $510. So she gets vindictive and nasty. That's what women do. That's what they do. You're lucky all your pants aren't cut in half. Ms. Vandrup.
Yes.
You have 10 seconds to convince me that this was a loan and not, I want to help you because you're my friend. And if you want to say, I can't do it, I'm more than willing to hear it. I have humiliated him sufficiently. What's your pleasure?
Well, first of all this started about the same day that I did give him the money. He made a down payment on some land as well. Now, my problem is why in the world did he make a down payment on land if he couldn't afford his rent?
When did you find out about that?
I believe it was the same day or just before I gave him the check.
And you continued to date him?
Unfortunately.
You continued to share his home with him for a while.
I wasn't living with him.
I don't care whether you were living with him or not. You get my drift,
Yes.
madam?
Yes.
That's also what women do. They'll make excuses. They'll go through all kinds of mental gymnastics to justify bad behavior. So, you've had your 10 seconds and you haven't convinced me that this was a loan.
I don't feel it was a loan.
It wasn't. It was a gift.
I mean, I gave him the money, and I did want to go ahead and help him, but he did send me an email stating that he would repay it.
Oh, let me see that. I would, listen, I would love to, in addition to humiliating him, give you a judgment.
And so if it was not a loan, why would he send me the email?
Oh, fine. Wednesday, April 20th. I will also be paying you back. If it's in installments, that's the best I can do right now. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. At that time, I'd tell her just about anything just to get her off my back.
Fine. Well, that's great. Well, that's what you told her. You said I'd be paying you back even in installments. So you didn't start?
No, ma'am. As far as I'm concerned, I don't owe her that money.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $510. You acknowledged the debt, sir. You said paying you back. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step down. This is case number 222 on the calendar in the matter of Burks versus Linton.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies have seats.
I've read your complaint, which alleges that the defendant breached a written contract that you had with her for child care. At some point, she terminated your services, you say, without good cause. She owes you some money. And in addition, she filed false charges against you with Child Protective Services, which required them to investigate your home, investigate whether or not you should continue to be licensed as a child care provider.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Linton says that she took her children out of your care because you placed them in a situation that could have been dangerous, and she is counterclaiming
Yes.
for the potential harm that you did to her children. So when did she take the children out of your care?
On the 1st of July.
Tell me what monies you allege she owes you.
I'm alleging she owes me all that is paid through the county. She called me and gave me a 2-week notice and didn't fulfill it.
She gave you 2 weeks' notice when?
The day after in question. I guess it would be the 2nd of July.
On or about July 1st?
Well, may I tell you a little bit previously? Because I had not been keeping her kids. The end of school had come, and so we started making arrangements again for me to start keeping her children again. Miss Linton leaves her children home alone. I only was keeping her youngest son.
Shh. Don't interrupt her. I just want to know what happened on 7/1.
Okay. The day in question, I picked her children up.
How many children?
I picked all 4 of them up.
How old are they?
They're 13, 9, 6, and 1.
Is that your son?
Yes.
How old are you?
12.
Is that the one that you said was 13?
Yes, I was told he was 13.
You're 12?
Yes.
12, 9, 6, and 1?
12, 8, 6, and 1.
Okay. Go ahead. So you picked up her children, 4 children.
I picked up her children, and the day in question, I had a class I have to take. There are certain requirements through the county that you have to take classes. So I had a class. Gloria McMillan's a friend of mine, and I have her watch them. She's watched her kids many times before.
Is Miss McMillan a licensed daycare provider?
No.
Are you permitted under your contract with the state to leave the children with unlicensed daycare providers?
Yes.
You are?
That I'm aware of.
No.
I've never...
Shh. Listen, I don't need any help, and this isn't a tea dance. Not that you're aware of.
Not that I'm not aware of, exactly.
Oh, okay. So, Ms. Burks, did you have to take classes in order to be a child care provider?
Yes.
Did they do a background check?
Yes.
Criminal background check. They did fingerprinting?
Yep.
Photographing?
Yep.
So you went through a process before the government says we will pay you money to watch children.
To get my license, you go through that process.
That's right. To get your license as a child care provider, you must go through this process.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't go through the process.
Okay.
So nobody has to tell you that she's not permitted to take care of the children.
No.
I'm telling you that unless you are vetted by the state so that you can get a license, you can't give over the care of 4 children to somebody else.
I understand that now.
Good. What happened next?
Well, I haven't even gotten to the beginning of that day because I would like to tell you the whole day.
I want you to tell me what happened when you left the children in a car. That's what this is all about.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Well, then get there.
Okay. On the day of question, I picked her children up. I went to the county building, had some paperwork to drop off for my father. I take care of my father, who was terminally ill, dying of cancer. After that, I went and picked up Gloria McMillan to watch the children for me. On the way home, I stopped past the party store. Getting out of the car, I said, guys, you guys wait right here. I'm going to run in the party store real quick, let my daughter pick out her party invitations. And we proceeded into the store. I left her children in the car. And on my way out of the car...
Where was she?
She went into the store to speak to a friend of hers that worked at the register in the store.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter is 2 now.
The daughter who was picking out the party invitations?
Yeah. I have a very bright 2-year-old.
Just a second.
What 2-year-old would be in them?
I'll give you this last opportunity. Then you're going out. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So let me understand this. First, you went to take care of some business for your father, who you take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And you took the children with you.
Mm-hmm.
Had this lady been watching the children yet?
No, she was not with me.
Just a second. Who was with the children when you dropped the paperwork off?
I was with the children.
Did they come into the county building with
Actually,
you?
no, they stayed outdoors and played. I never thought any of this to be a problem at all, Miss Linton.
Well, Miss Burks, it's a problem. That's what we're doing now. I'm going over the day.
I understand
I'm going over the day because it's getting worse as we go forward.
No, it's already worse. I understand what I did was completely wrong.
Well, if you understand that, then, Miss Burks, I don't quite understand why you're here. Because from what I read in the complaint...
Miss Linton is slandering my name.
Just a second. If what you're telling me is you picked up her children and you had your 2-year-old in the car, you went to the county building.
Mm-hmm.
Did you take your 2-year-old inside with you?
To the county building, yes, ma'am, and her son.
Shh. And her 12-year-old or
no,
her 1-year-old?
Her littlest son. They stayed outside and played basketball.
You went inside and you took your 2-year-old and her 1-year-old into the county building. And her other 3 children stayed outside alone.
And played on the playground.
I don't care where they played. They stayed outside alone.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you come back to the car and you went and picked up this lady.
Yes.
And then 2 adults, your daughter, went inside to a store and you left her 4 children in the car, including the 1-year-old.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long were you in the store?
Maybe 5 minutes.
So that's what the case is about. It was the next day that she called and gave you notice.
Right, but that's not what she called me and said the next day.
What did she call you and say the next day?
She called me on the phone. When I answered, I said, hello. She says, I'm giving you a 2-week notice because you have a problem with my son. I said, no, ma'am, I don't have a problem with your son. Your son is a child. You're a liar.
No, no, no. Listen to me. Miss Linton, don't speak to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're a liar.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. So far, you have no case.
That's fine. I don't care if I don't have a case.
Good.
She will not sit here on national TV and lie about me. I kept her son overnight, you liar.
And later today,
she owed me the money for the rent. And on top of that, then she steals my boyfriend.
Listen, nobody steals a boyfriend.
They can have each other.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daycare provider Samantha Burks says former client Lillian Linton owes for breaking their contract. Lillian claims Samantha left her kids unattended in a parked car. She is countersuing for child neglect.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, no, ma'am, I don't have a problem with your son. Your son is a child. Your son has a problem with following adult supervision. And this is not the first incident that I had an issue with her son. I said to her, your children were throwing rocks, and I asked them to stop. When I asked him to stop, her son looked over at me and said, I'm not throwing rocks, just like that, with a handful of rocks. So I said, I'll just call your mom. When I called her on the phone, she said, let me see if I can remember her exact words. They know I don't play that. I'm gonna beat that when they get home. I said, okay, I'm just letting you know it's not acceptable in my house. People have nice things around here. I don't want to be responsible for anything that happens. And that was it. We got off the phone. Later that evening, I had to have my father rushed to the hospital. I was under a lot of stress. Her kids were still outdoors, not paying me any mind, not listening to anything I said. And when she got there, you could see the agitation in her face, you know.
Where does your father live?
He lives with me.
Ms. Burks, your plate is too full.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Now, when you accept the responsibility, taking care of someone else's children, you have to take care of them sometimes better than their own parents take care of them.
I did.
No, no, no. Listen to me. If you have 5 children,
I made a very big mistake, and I would never do it again.
You have 5. Listen to me. I'm not even going there. The car, totally, 100% unacceptable. And she had every right to call Child Protective Services and say, you left 4 children in the car, including a 1-year-old child, and I'm complaining about that.
I never said she was wrong about that. What she's wrong about is that she wants to point the finger at me when she's a bad mother herself. She leaves her children home daily.
Miss Burks, listen to me. If we were involved in some other forum, I would say to you, fine, we can vent upon who's a better mother, who's a bad mother, who's a good mother. We're here because you sued her for 2 things. For money for child care and for filing a false report to Child Protective Services. Whether she's a good mother, whether she's a bad mother, whether she's a wicked stepmother, whatever she is, she did the right thing by calling Child Protective Services to report that you had left the children alone. Your plate is very full. When you accept children into your home as a child care provider, you're supposed to do more with those children than just be a body there. You're supposed to play with them. You're supposed to provide them with activity. With you.
Asking me if I did
no,
these
listen
things,
to
or
me.
you just tell me
What I'm telling you is, if you have a 2-year-old toddler yourself and a father who is terminally ill with cancer that you're caring for in your home, it is impossible to set up a home, your home, to be an appropriate and adequate child care provider.
Well, Judge Judy, that's your opinion. I disagree. And my father was not diagnosed with lung cancer when I took care of her children. Through the process of taking care of her children, he was diagnosed with lung cancer.
You told me the story, madam. You said I had to drop some papers off for my father who was dying of cancer, who I was also caring for. You told that to me.
But you're saying to me...
I'm saying to you that your plate was too full.
In general,
with your own children. That day.
Okay, yes, ma'am, okay.
That day, that's all you need is 1 day. That's all you need is 1 day to miss a child. You know, they missed a couple of children on another coast, and they ended up in the trunk of a car.
I actually investigated myself. There's a lot of bad things that happen to children that get left in cars, and I'm very aware of it.
Absolutely. Ended up in trunks of car, and they didn't get them in time.
Do it again.
So what
I would never do it again.
So you don't belong in court, Miss Burks?
Yes, ma'am, I do. Miss Linton is going around town saying bad things about me. I am not a bad person.
Just a second. If you have information or witnesses that she's saying anything about you scandalous that have to do with other than your child care abilities, I'll be more than happy to hear witnesses to that.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know if she's saying things about you, about your personal life, that you have a disease, that you're a thief.
No, she's just basically in a nutshell saying that I'm a bad person. Her exact words was that I'm not cracked up to all that I'm supposed to be.
Listen to me. That's her opinion. And she can say that, and not all speech is actionable in a court. What you did as a child care provider was wrong, so you have no basis to sue her for either the money that you claim she owes you or for calling Child Protective Services. None. She's got a counterclaim.
Yes, I do.
Your counterclaim is that she left your 4 children in the car.
Yes.
Were any of them hospitalized?
No, they weren't hospitalized.
Just listen to me. I have questions. Any of them treated by a physician that day or the next day?
No.
Okay, so they suffered no injury. Who are you?
I had the kids the following day, and the 1-year-old was throwing up 2 to 3 times.
You're a liar. And I have never seen this one before. She did not have the 1-year-old the next day. I kept her son overnight.
I am a licensed.
I kept her son overnight.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. So far, you have no case.
That's fine. I don't care if I don't have a case.
Good.
She will not sit here on national TV and lie about me. I kept her son overnight, you liar.
Miss Burks, I've already explained in a calm fashion why I'm dismissing your case.
That's fine.
Miss Linton, you have no counterclaim against her. You have no proof that her actions caused illness to any of your children. You were perfectly within your rights to take them out of her care.
Her illness
and I'm speaking.
Nasty.
I'm speaking. And you were perfectly within your rights to call Child Protective Services to report the neglect. Other than that, you have no claim against her because her actions, while they placed your children in potential harm's way, did not cause any injury to your children. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all. Step out.
Harm's way every day.
He's a liar.
Home alone.
Liar.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
That's it.
Miss Linton is a crackhead that leaves her children home alone.
I do no drugs. I do drink my wine, but I do no drugs. She's a lying. She's just mad.
Miss Linton is a bad woman. She's a lying woman, too.
Oh, she's a liar.
Miss Linton, who goes to church and is a fake Christian, needs to get real with herself.
Y'all better watch out for y'all children, because skanks like her may end up with them.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Sams versus Hurst. Step forward.
Donna Sams is suing her former roommate, Barbara Hurst, for unpaid rent. Donna also claims Barbara stole her boyfriend.
Miss Sams, Miss Hurst was your roommate for a period of time, and you both were signatories on the lease.
I am the signatory on the lease, and then when she moved in, I had to sign a notice to change my rent, which raised my rent $800 a month for having a roommate.
Can I see that, please? Thank you. Your complaint alleges that after she moved in, she did pay the rent for a period of time, and then she lost her job.
Right, that's correct.
And you took on additional work responsibilities to cover the rent,
Yeah,
with her promise that she would pay you back. She not only didn't pay you back, but according to you, she has since moved out and moved in with your former boyfriend.
Yeah.
Miss Hurst says that, A, you were finished with the boyfriend before she moved in with him, and second, that she did the chores around the house in exchange for the rent, and there was never an agreement to pay you back.
Chores for the rent?
Shh, just a second. Okay. So I have a few questions.
Okay.
When did this roommate relationship begin?
She moved in on September 1st of last year.
How long did you know her prior to her moving in?
A couple of years. We worked together.
What prompted her to move in with you?
Well, we were talking in the lunchroom one day, and she was telling me that she wasn't real happy with her living arrangement, and my rent was $1,200 a month, but it was a big house, and it was just me and my dogs, and so, you know, I told her I would check into it. I didn't know how it would happen as far as the lease goes. I'd have to check with my landlord, and I did that, and then I talked to her the following week. Even though the rent would be raised $800 a month, I would be paying $200 less, and she would be paying about, I don't know, maybe less than what she was paying before.
Okay, great. So you moved in September of 2004?
Yes.
When did you pay rent?
I paid rent for September, October, and November, and I paid $300 in December.
If you had paid rent, how much would you have paid from December until you moved out?
$5,000.
Is that right?
Yeah, but she made a $300 payment in December, and then in April she gave me $200, so it was
Came down to
$4,500.
Well, I'd like you to explain to me what happened.
Well, I met Donna's ex-boyfriend.
He wasn't my ex then.
Don't. I'm speaking to her. Go ahead.
I met Donna's now ex-boyfriend in November, and they had broken up, and we hit it off, and we started dating, and I didn't feel that I needed to really tell her at the time because she was...
skip over the boyfriend and get to the rent.
I got laid off in December.
Yes.
And I was looking for a job, and I didn't find another one until April.
Yes.
And that's why I didn't pay rent.
Well, what did you do all day?
I was looking for work, and I would clean the house, and...
Well, who did you expect to pay your rent?
I figured I'd get another job.
So you owe her the money.
She was happy with the way things were working. No money was mentioned until I told her about me seeing her ex-boyfriend.
Madam, she's not related to you, is she?
No.
Could you move your hair? I can't see both of your eyes. Thank you very much. I mean, why would you think that this lady has the responsibility to take care of you? Forget the fact that you started to date her boyfriend. I don't even care about that. Because, you know, when it comes to issues of the heart, who knows what happens. Why would you think this lady's responsibility to take care of you?
I don't think it's her responsibility. I thought she was helping me out as a...
Why? Because you moved there, her rent practically doubled. Duh.
She didn't say anything until I brought up the fact that I was dating her ex-boyfriend.
She owed me the money for the rent, and she knows she did.
owes you the money for the rent.
And on top of that, then she steals my boyfriend. She met him 2 months before she ever lost her job.
Listen, nobody steals a boyfriend.
They can have each other.
Right. Nobody steals somebody, not these days. If he wanted to go, he went, and good riddance to him, right?
Yeah.
And good riddance to her?
But it's still...
She owes you $4,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused.
হ্যালো গাইস, হোয়াটসঅ্যাপ কি অবস্থা সবার? কেমন আছো তোমরা? গাড়িতে করে আজকে চলে যাচ্ছে আকাচ্ছে, বিদ্যাচ্ছে, বিদ্যাচ্ছে চলে যাচ্ছে।
यार একটু বাম সাইডে নামাই দেন, বাম সাইডে নামাই দেন তো সানি ভাই, বাম সাইডে নামাই দেন। আরে বাম সাইডে নামাই দেন অন করে।
আরে কানেলে অন হইতেছে না।
ধরো ভাই, তাহলে ওই কি বলে?
আকাচ্ছে চলে যাব আমরা, আকাচ্ছে।
রাজুদার একটু উঠিয়ে খেয়েছেন পরোটা।
দেখি আবার ট্রাই করি।
অন হবে না কেন?
ইয়ে দেখো, ইয়ে তো দেখো।
অন করে শুধু ব্রিজের নিচে নামাই দেন।
চাকা উপরে উঠতেছে না।
তাহলে অন হয় নাই।
তুমি প্লেয়ার কাছে আছে না?
আমার কাছে নাই। স্যামেরটা আমাকে দিয়ে দিবেন।
চাকা কিধার যা রাহা হে চাকা?
এবার উঠবে না সম্ভব।
আমি ভাই অন করতে পারে না।
আরে কতটা উড়াইছি।
চাকা নিয়ে। দূরে ভাই, সাইনে ভাই অন করতে পারে না।
মাইরা নি।
বলে ধরেন।
পোলাই যখন দেখবো 104টা পোলা নিজেই আইডি স্টপ করব।
সাইনে ভাই ইউজ করতে পারে না। और गाड़ी का फटा दें।
इधर एक एनिमी आया, एनिमी है।
जोर भाई नामे जाई, तानी भाई आके उसको।
अनवर धाव जैसे।
कोई एनिमी कोई गाड़ा फाल दे माने।
Oh shit.
সানি ভাই ইউজ করতে পারে না।
আরে কি জানি ওই লোক
মুকুল ভাই কি এখনো রোস্টিং করে?
লাউডা হ্যাকার
করো। আমি
সানি
তো
ভাই লাউডা মানে কি?
আমি কই আর মনে করো না কোন সময়। তাই দেখি নাই কোন সময়।
আমি একটু ইমোটরটা রিসেট দিয়ে আসি আর কভার দিও হালকা।
ওকে ওকে।
আমি তা গাড়ি এখন উপরে উড়ায় ছাড়মুই।
মুকুল ভাই লাউডা মানে কি?
লেওরা মানে
লেওরা মানে ওইটা
কি কি
ওই ভাই এটা লেজেন্ডরা বুঝছো, তুমি বুঝো নাই তার মানে।
আমিও লেজেন্ড হইতে চাই।
তুমি লেজেন্ড হইতে চাও?
ইয়া
তাহলে লেজেন্ডের মতন একটু বুদ্ধি খাটাও, তাহলে জানতে পারবা।
ওইটা পারি না বলেই তো।
তাহলে কি হইবা কিভাবে? আমি যদি বলে দিই তাহলে তো এটা ভাই
বাংলাটা না ইংলিশটা।
इंग्लिश सेक्शन
तो भाता रे भात संगे हेडे কইব পারে।
আরে না না বলো ভাতা রে ভাত খাবো না গো মা। আরেক কি জানো বলে এটা
নাঙ্গের আশা কইরা তোমার ভাতা রে ভাত সঙ্গে।
দূর ভাই আমি ঢুকুমল লাগে আপনার ফ্রি ফায়ার আমি আমরা জিতে ঢুকতেছি, আমি খেলি নাই।
জিটিএ কেমনে খেলে আমি তো পারি না জিটিএ খেলে কেমনে
কি পেট
নরমালি
বাসন
খেলে
আছে পেট না ক্র্যাক
নরমালি খেলে
না অনলাইন আমি তো অনলাইন কিন্তু গ্যাং ট্যাং বানায় তারপরে ওগুলো বানায়
এটা আপনার আরপি রোল প্লে
ভাই এনিমি চান্দের দেশ থেকে নামলো নিচে
এটা আপনি খেলবেন নাকি তাহলে আপনার সব আমি সার্ভার লিংক দিয়ে সব ঠিক সেটআপ করে দিয়েছি
ওটা কি ভালো
হ্যাঁ ভালো আপনার অ্যাপল গেমিং এর সার্ভার
তাহলে ঢোকা যায়
হ্যাঁ দেন আপনার ইট কাপবোর্ড সার্ভারও ছিল বাট এর সার্ভার মরে গেছে মানে চলে না
মরা সার্ভার
বিডি প্রাই এই যে অ্যাপল গেমিং এর সর্বোচ্চ একটা বেশি সব দিক দিয়া
এই ব্যাপার চাইলে তো হলোই